Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about all things 3DO, the 3DO company, and everything in between. On this special 50th episode, I'm Bill, and this is Threk. How you doing, Threk?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Bill. I am near the end of my current hellhole job, so I will be starting a new potentially hellhole job, and about it. So this time, a week from now, I will have been doing that new job. So I'll probably have some things to say about it.
Nice.
After, well, by the time this is up on Wednesday, I will be doing my last day. So, and then I'll get the rest of the week off before I start my new job. So, I'm excited. I'm excited. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing good. Busy. Been a busy couple of days. Getting my wisdom tooth out next Monday, so that'll be fun.
Ooh,
Um,
are we gonna delay next week?
we'll see how Tuesday goes. I'll let you know.
Well, I
Um,
got. Well, how many wisdom teeth you getting out?
just the bottom two on Monday. I took both days off, so worst comes to worst, I'll probably sleep most of Tuesday, and if I'm feeling okay in the afternoon, then we might be able to do it. If not,
I'm
then we
sup-
can push it back a day or two.
I'm surprised they didn't suggest all four.
So my upper ones came in all the way, and they
Okay,
said for the time it's not a big deal. They said maybe down the line if they shift down, but they said that might not even happen. So
because I got mine out a couple years ago, and it was my bottom two that were giving me issues. Particularly, I
mm,
think this guy. Um, and I remember my dentist saying like we could just do the two because the top two were fine, but he said it's probably easier now just to get all four out so that you don't have to worry about the process later on down the future in the future because getting any wisdom teeth taken out, say in your 40s, apparently the recovery process is a lot longer than say in your 20s.
mm,
So I just got all four ripped out, and I think I was out for like 3-4 days, and then I was good to go.
yeah. They told me because the upper ones have come in all the way and they've basically settled, they're not a huge concern. Like they're not really causing any problems. It's the
Okay.
bottom. The bottom ones are impacted, so that's where like the problem is right now.
Yeah, you're not getting any crazy headaches, are you?
Not really. My I've got a. It's starting to swell a little, so I'm a little worried
Mm-hmm.
about that. It was good for a while, and it's ironically the week before is when it's acting up again. But
Mm-hmm.
I only got a less than a week, so
Yeah, because I think it was either this one. Yeah, I think it was this one because I think it was sitting on one of my nerves or something. So I was getting like just crazy migraines,
mm,
like the worst headaches I've ever had, and I was like taking probably way too much medication to try to get rid of them. But ever since they came out, my headaches, if I ever get any, are much less severe.
mm.
So yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. You'll be very woozy. There's gonna be a lot of blood, a lot of gooey blood. Don't be like me and accidentally swallow a bunch of it and then you throw it up.
Yeah.
And I hope you're well stocked in soft foods that you can't chew.
Yeah. I'll probably do that this weekend when I go food shopping.
Yeah, you're
Um,
gonna get real sick of like Jello and noodles and all that pretty quick because I
yeah.
did.
I know Alex is looking forward to filming me when I get out because I'm going. I'm taking the drug. I'm taking the drugs. So
Well,
uh,
if she's listening, I could give her my number and then she can like text me the fucking video
yeah,
and I'll have it saved in my fucking phone.
I'm sure it'll end up on the server. I'm sure.
Oh, yes. Please, Alex, please do so.
Uh, but
Yeah, yeah, 'cause
yeah,
I was pretty out of it too, but it was the surgery wasn't bad. Not bad at all. It's actually pretty easy.
yeah, they're like, so you can either do it awake or you can get the drugs, and I'm like, I'll take the drugs, please.
Oh yeah, I went for general anesthetic.
Yeah,
You might as well.
they told me it doesn't cost anymore, so I'm like, fuck it, just do
No,
the
it
easy.
doesn't. Yeah. Seemed easy to me.
Ironically,
But
I'm more worried
what
about the fucking needle than the actual surgery. So
needle? What needle?
when they put the IV in,
Oh yeah. I totally
I
forgot they did that. Do you have a
I
fear of
have
do you have a
yeah,
fear of needles?
I've got pretty bad needle phobia.
Okay. I had it when I was really young, but the older I've gotten, I think I grew out of it. Really, I view it as back when you had to do the COVID test and they would just shove that Q-tip right up your nose. That's worse than a needle. I
Yeah.
hated that. That was so painful. But yeah, I got used to needles. I think it's because I learned that like it's super quick.
Mm.
You're in and out. And then with the IV, like once it's in, you don't think about it.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. It's like a weird psychological thing.
I get it. I get it. Like I'm not big on heights. So,
Mm.
and it's not so much the height, I think it's like the fear of falling, but
That whole
I
feeling of
manage it.
being just unsupported, like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I feel it even in when I'm like say on the second floor of like a mall. Like I'll feel like weirdly shaky for some reason, but yeah, I
yeah, I
deal with
did
it.
a
It's my cross to bear.
I used to be in a JROTC back in the day,
Me
and we did
too. Me too.
nice Navy or Army.
Air Force.
Oh, Air Force, Civil Air
Because
Patrol,
well,
or
no, just the Air Force because the Wright Patterson Air Force Base, I live like right around it.
nice. Yeah, I did the Navy one. I remember because we had an opportunity to go to like Mass Maritime, and they showed us the big windmill, and they were like, "Anyone want to climb up?" And I'm just like, "Nope, I'm good down here."
And I'm sure it was ROTC, so one dude was like, "Yeah, I'll fucking do it." Brr. There's always that one guy who's kind of
Yeah,
nuts.
they wouldn't let us actually do it. They just wanted to. They were just trying to mess with us. But I
Oh
was just
yeah,
like,
but you knew the one guy who would have totally done it if they let
"Oh,
him.
I'm sure one tryhard would have tried to climb up there."
Of course, the ROTC is full of a lot of tryhards.
Yeah, that's for sure. But we shouldn't dilly dally too much because we got a special episode for the 50th.
We got a lot to do.
We do. So we're going to split this episode kind of in half. The first half, as we had mentioned previously, we're going to do a tier list ranking of every game we've played for on the show so far. It'll be fun to look back and see how our opinions may have changed in hindsight. And then for the second half of the show, we're going to do some Q&As. It was a very last minute thing I thought of like right before we started filming, and we got a surprisingly good amount of responses in. So I'm looking forward to answering some of those in the second half.
Thanks, you sickos.
Yeah, they were very nice. That's all. I hope so. I didn't see every question. I didn't vet these things, so we're
There was like one or two that I pre-read. There was one specifically, and they know who they are that I regret that I pre-read, and I regret pre-reading it because it was really good.
I saw one that I really am looking forward to answering, just because it actually is a pretty interesting question. But we'll save that for later, because for now, let's bring up the tier list and hope this thing doesn't crash.
Pray, everyone.
All right.
Oh,
So,
oh, it has 50% less sugar. Let's go.
oh hell,
Or you can get the ultimate bundle. Finally,
yeah,
I can watch Bluey and Wonka at the same time. One for
these
each eye.
these ads are wonderful.
Yeah.
So the way I did this was so I'm on a different tab. Do I still sound all right in the call?
Sound fine to me.
Okay, that's all that matters. Um, yeah. So the way I ordered it out is I have all the games in order from when we covered them, and I figured we'd just go down the line. I'm doing the classic S through C tier, and then I added the shit tier because it's just more
There's at
fun.
least one game that's going to be in the shit tier.
Yeah, I'm sure I know it. There might be a couple. I'm sure I know at least one though.
Yeah, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah. So there might be a bit of debate because I know we had different opinions on some of these games, but I figure let's start from where we began, and that is with Crash and Burn.
Crash and Burn. What
So
are you thinking, Bill?
I'm thinking, honestly, I'm thinking around a C tier because I thought it was okay. You said it was a straight up stay away.
I I think it's too competently made to be in the shit tier.
Yeah, that's
Like
kind of where I was going.
I did pop it in and play it once after the episode. I've done that at least once. And yeah, it has a lot of issues, but I think as a racing game, you could do a lot worse. I mean, you can do a lot better on the system, honestly. But I think C is fine. Like it's not amazing. Um, I mean, that's the thing. Some stayaways I'll throw in the C because I'm like, it's not a terrible game, and this isn't terrible, but it is a flawed game, and I cannot see it anywhere else than the C tier.
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty fair, honestly, because I mean, it's not an unplayable game. It's just not a
No.
particularly fun game.
Yeah, it kind of crashes and burns.
Ha. Uh, all right.
Sponsored by Huggies.
Hell yeah.
The audio listeners are gonna love this.
Yeah. And Cox apparently. All right. So next we've got Road Rash. This was a
Road.
double must play from both of us. I don't know if I
Road.
want to be so bold, but S tier.
It's at the very least, it's an A tier.
Hmm.
The only reason I'm being iffy on it is just because I think we've played better games than this since. But I think for the game's reputation and for the amount we enjoyed playing it, and I may have played this a little bit more since. Um, you know what? We'll throw it in the S tier
Okay.
because
So I will.
these things can move. You know, we
Yes.
may change minds as we go, but I think S for Road Rash on 3DO is fitting, especially because some people know the 3DO as the Road Rash machine. So I
True.
think that helps its credibility.
So I should have said Rolades, yay. I should I should have said at the start. None of these are locked in. We might shift them around as we add more to the board.
Yeah, there's going to be a few that I won't be confident in where we sit them.
Yes, because that S category might fill up faster than we think.
I don't know about that.
We'll see, because there's a few games that I feel like we were pretty high on, but that's we'll get to. And speaking of games, we got Twisted next.
Fuck. Where Twisted go? Where are you thinking Twisted?
We thought Twisted was both okay. In hindsight, I feel like I like it more now after playing its two sequels. But even then, I still feel like it is very much a middle kind of B game.
It might be a high B. At
Mm,
best, maybe a low A because it's very memorable. You know, considering we
yeah.
still reference it and still think about it a lot. You know, I think
See,
that helps its case.
at the start, I'd say it was a solid B, but after playing both of its sequels, it definitely gets bumped up a little bit. But I feel like
Yeah,
for now we should put it in the B tier and we'll see what happens.
I can live with B tier.
Okay, so let's put that in there for now. And then next we have Return Fire,
Ah,
featuring our favorite little green man there.
yeah. Return Fire is great. I love it. Um, I don't know if I'd give it an S tier though. I don't know.
No, not so much because it's bad. Like, well, it's obviously a good game. Like we both said, it was a must play, but it's
It,
also a very repetitive game.
it's lacking in a lot of like features and all that, but like it has a nice, satisfying gameplay loop. Like
Mm.
once I was in, I just kind of went through it. Um, I would put this in A tier. I think A is perfect for Return Fire.
A is exactly where I was thinking as well. It is one of the. There's a reason it was called the system's killer app back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Unfortunately, nowadays when it went to PlayStation, it kind of fell into obscurity. It's a great idea. I just feel like maybe if they had made more of them, like there was the sequel slash
Yeah,
expansion.
yeah,
We
which we haven't covered yet.
Yeah, I still kicking myself for passing on that at Retro
Yeah,
World that one year.
yeah, it's one of those kind of pricey ones. I don't know if I may dip for that because I enjoyed the base game so much, but
Mm,
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah. And then next we have PO'd. I mean, it's pooed right here. I mean, this seems like an obvious.
Yeah. I mean, this is potentially related to a later Q&A question that I read, but PO'd is a game that I really want to reevaluate. And with that Night Dive version that came out, we will be doing a reevaluation of it in the future, playing that version specifically. So our opinion could potentially change because I feel like we were unfair to PO'd, but PO'd on 3DO didn't give itself the best case,
No,
because it was just such a really bad version of that game. you
Yeah.
know, and I've always regretted not sticking with it longer, but it was such a painful experience that hopefully playing it on modern platforms will allow that game to really shine, because there is something here. There is.
Mm,
So hopefully in the not too distant future we will cover that definitive edition. But for now, we'll throw the 3DO version in the shit pile.
yeah.
Maybe when we do this tier list in the future, we'll separate the two.
Maybe. Maybe because I do want to. I do have the remake bought
I have
or
it
the
as well.
remaster, so I haven't got around to playing it yet, but it is on my
Mm-mm.
list.
Yeah, I'm waiting for when we do it to actually like play through it.
Hmm. Okay. Um. So next we have Theme Park, the classic Bullfrog game.
It's if we were judging these games based on their cover art, this is an S tier. I love that cover
Mm.
art for Theme Park. I would frame that. Um, if I remember correctly, I was a bit disappointed with this one because I'm such a big Roller Coaster Tycoon fan, and I was hoping for a similar experience and similar, but it was older, you know. And there were certain things about it, certain quirks that just I didn't really appreciate.
For me, this is one of those hard cases where like I have to separate the original PC version from the 3DO version because they are different experiences.
Yeah, this game's probably much better on PC.
I don't want to say it was a shit game because it wasn't a bad
No,
game. It was
I
just a
I
game that
love the aesthetics, like the
mm,
way the rides are designed and everything. Like that stuff's great.
yeah, honestly, like to me, the biggest problem was just it wasn't really designed for a controller.
No, and like the menus were really confusing, and it was really tough to keep track of like your financial stuff as well as like keeping the customers happy. And it just and nobody's saying like, oh, the only way you get, because you barely get any rides at the start of the game, and the only way to get more is to put money in research. But like the tutorials, the few that it has are just not very good. So it's not as beginner friendly as the manual teaches you a lot of that stuff. And this is, I guess, you have to consider this era was, you read the manual before you play the game, right? Much like, say, like a board game these days. But it's a C or a B. I
I'm
don't know,
gonna
because it's better than Crash and Burn.
so that's
I
where
can
this
say, but I would rather play Twisted.
okay. So that's kind of where this list kind of comes in here now. So I'm gonna say it's a C tier, but I'd put it ahead of Crash and Burn.
Yeah, like it's like a C plus.
Yeah.
Or at most a B minus.
So
If I would say if C ends up getting really crowded, I'm fine with moving theme park up to B.
okay. So like the way I think we'll do it too is the closer to the left is the better in that category.
Yeah. We'll do rankings within the tiers. I think. I
Yeah.
think there's enough games to get away with that.
Yeah. So for now we'll leave it in C. It might move up, but next, now this is one that this was a fun episode looking back. We have
John
John
Madden,
Madden.
John Madden football. Well, he's coming in with the play, and then boom. Oh
So
God, I love this fucking game. I am gonna go S on this one.
I
I
was
don't
gonna
know if you're
say
willing to give it an S, but I'm willing to give it an S.
so I'm not a football guy. I think we kind of went over that in the episode.
Yeah, I'm the football guy of the two of us.
But I really appreciated the fact that this was an original Madden, like exclusive to 3DO. And I love the aesthetic. I love the full motion John Madden in the game.
Yeah, I
I
wish
I
there was more of them though.
mm. And honestly, it was a really fun game. Like I'm not even a football guy, and I enjoyed this.
Oh yeah,
I think I agree with you, S tier. I don't think I'd play it over Road Rash. That's just me personally. What do you think?
I would play this over Road Rash, but I would play this over Road Rash, but we can leave Road Rash ahead of it for now.
Okay, we'll see
We,
what
we
else
don't
goes
we
in
don't
yet.
have to get into the deep arguments yet. But
Okay.
goddamn, I love this fucking game. God, this is back when they tried. Because I did play a little bit of the college football game that EA just did recently. They had a
Oh yeah.
free trial for it, and I put about an hour into it. It's not bad. It's not bad, but there are some. The aesthetic of it is very strong, but there's just something about when you play the game that's just it's weird. I don't know. Like I'd have to, sit down with somebody else in our network who knows about sports games to like really get into it. Because I
Mhm.
have some things to say, but I'll refrain from here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So we also covered for like 5 minutes in that episode FIFA.
FIFA.
Um,
You know what? Throw FIFA in B.
yeah,
That's
that's what I was
that's
thinking.
a B tier game. That is a good quality video game. And despite my not really knowing what the fuck to do and kind of struggling, I really enjoyed the environment that FIFA puts you in.
Mm,
It feels very much like you're at a soccer match, which is like I've always wanted to go to a soccer match to sort of get that experience of like being in the crowd and the chanting and all that stuff. And FIFA does a good job of replicating that. So for that alone, I think it deserves to be a B. And honestly, it controls just fine. It's not
yeah.
a bad game at all.
Now, I want to put it probably above Twisted. What do you think? Just as a game.
Yeah, I mean, I like Twisted as the better experience, but
True.
if you want to put FIFA above Twisted, I can live with that.
It's one of those things where I'm just kind of thinking as a game, FIFA's probably a better experience overall, but Twisted is like a better 3DO game.
Twisted's more memorable. How about that?
Yeah.
But
Well,
but I can put FIFA above Twisted. I'm fine with that.
yeah. We'll
I
see
won't
where.
lose sleep over that.
Yeah, we'll see where it ends up.
Yeah.
Um, Now speaking of Twisted, actually, we got its sequel here, Club 3DO
I
Station Invasion.
I don't remember much about this one. I remember playing it, but my memory. What did I get? Did I say okay on this one?
No, we think we both said stay away.
Oh shit.
I remember
uh,
we both were kind of met on this game.
yeah, I don't. Most of this game is blocked out of my memory. Like I just remember it was like kids taking over a TV show, and it was like a bunch of mini games, and the mini games weren't great. I think we spent a good chunk of the episode looking
For
up
that one kid.
one of the kids on there. Yeah. You know what? Throw it in the shit pile.
Yeah,
Just because I don't remember it. I'd put it above PO'd. I'll give it that much. Just because PO barely runs.
yeah.
So sorry, PO'd.
The most I remember from Twisted is the angry dude at the end when you get stuck in that like ending loop, and
Yeah.
what's that smell? That's about all I
Oh,
remember.
what's that smell was good. I'd watch a show of what's that smell.
Yeah. Yeah, Station Invasion was very much a. Well, there was Mad Libs. I did Mad Libs.
Oh,
That's
there
about
was
all I
Mad Libs.
remember.
Yeah, you're right. There was a Mad Libs. See
Uh,
again. This is one I'd have to pop it in again to remind myself. But
so next we have the other soccer game on the console.
Soccer Kid.
Soc- Soccer Kid, one of the few platformers.
It's it's definitely a game I want to put more time into because I think I was kind of busy when we did this episode, so I didn't get to really play this one as much as I wanted to.
Hmm.
I really liked the concept of it, the soccer ball and everything like that. I don't know if it truly executed on that, but from what I played, I did enjoy it, and it's not a bad game at all. I think this was also. I think people remember this more for being on the Amiga. I think or
Yeah,
something
this
like
is a.
that. This is a European ass game.
It's definitely an older game that just happened to get a 3DO port with some added stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
It has that Euro stank on it, Like when you play certain older games, like you can tell it was made in that part of the world. It's just their kind of design philosophies.
so for context on what we thought of this game, I said okay, and your response was sure, why not? So
Yeah, yeah, because it is an okay game. I think it was just because I didn't play it enough to
mm,
really have a solid opinion on it, and I really should play more of that game.
yeah,
I think I got a G. Did I get a GBA port? I think it
I
did.
think it might have.
Yeah, maybe I need to play that version.
I also think this was right before the hiatus, which might explain why we didn't get a ton into it.
Yeah, I was really busy then. But what are you thinking? You played it more than me.
I'm thinking it's a solid B.
Okay.
I'd say better than Twisted, probably better than. I don't know. Would you say better than FIFA or
Nah, I wouldn't put it above FIFA.
okay? So I'll put it
Honestly,
kind
I
of
wouldn't. Honestly, I wouldn't put it above Twisted.
okay. That's fair. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I like the idea of it, but it's not my favorite platformer on the system.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a lot of. I don't think we've played that many. We haven't played that many platformers on 3DO, but there's not that many
No,
already. There's still a couple we haven't done. Like, what
yeah,
is it? Johnny Bazooka Tone? Is that one of them?
yeah. That's one I want to cover just because I believe it was made by somebody we've covered recently in this.
Yeah, that's. I think that's one of the pricier ones.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. Yo ho
um,
ho.
but yeah. So the next game, I mean,
That is the D tier after all.
yeah,
So it
uh,
perfectly fits. Yes, I would even put it below PO'd. Absolutely. Sorry to friend of the show, Dre from Fine Time. He's a big fan of D, and I totally get why. He was there at the time, so he had that experience that I think we both said if you played this at the time, you probably had a fonder memory of it, and he absolutely
probably.
did. But yeah, this one just no, absolutely not. We should in the future we should do like Enemy Zero and D2,
Hmm.
kind of round out. I mean, we've played two Eno games now, so we should round them out.
Honestly, like the thing I like the most about D is the guy that made it. So
Yeah, yeah. Like this just feels like a playable tech demo.
I think the problem is like Resi and like Silent Hill weren't that far after it.
Yeah,
At least
this was
even
90.
Alone in the
This
Dark.
was this was what 94, 95,
I
and
think
Resident Evil 1 was 96, I think. And
yeah, it
then
was
Silent Hill was 99. So it was a couple years later. But I
yeah.
think Konami took their time to make sure they got it right, and good on them.
Hmm, yeah,
Me giving Konami a compliment in 2024.
they used to be good. Well, I don't think the
They did.
company themselves were ever good. They just had good people.
Yeah, they had a good dev team.
Um, yeah, I think that was our first Universal like we just hated it game. Because even PO'd, I was a bit nicer to it at the time.
Yeah, yeah. It was one of those. I want to be nicer to it. So hopefully, when it gets its second chance, maybe it'll show me the error of my ways.
The thing about PO that just like keeps like nagging at me is the fact that it is a really creative game. It
Oh
just
yeah,
doesn't run well. Like
yeah. Like a
that's
chef using his frying pan to beat like a walking ass that farts at you. Like that sounds awesome.
yeah,
It's
like
just
legit.
it runs like dog shit, and
Yeah.
not in a cute way that fits with the game's theme, you know? So when I saw they were doing that definitive edition, my first thought was, oh, this is a joke. And then I kept watching this trailers and I'm like, oh, this fucking runs. Like this is gonna have like dual analog support. Like this is what this game needs.
Hmm.
So yeah, we'll find out in the future. We'll save it for later.
Speaking now, this one's going to be tough for me just because. So, Alone in the
Alone in the
Dark.
dark. Yes, yes.
This this
I
was
I wouldn't put it in the shit tier. I think it's
yeah.
too historically important to
That's
be in the shit tier.
that's the thing. Like this game is horribly aged,
Oh God.
but it is such a culturally significant game. Like, I mean, this came out I think actually before D, and it's
Yeah, this
kind
was 92, I think, the PC version.
of,
Because I played this on PC
and this
and
was like
it was a nightmare on the year too. It
yeah, this was like the progenitor to like
was the
what
beginning.
would be the survival horror game.
It's the Super Mario Brothers of survival horror.
Hmm,
But it does not hold up the way Super Mario Brothers does. But
not at all.
I'm willing to put it in the bottom of the C tier, even though I'd rather play Station Invasion than this game.
Yeah.
Maybe even PO'd, but it gets extra credit for being the first of its kind. So I will always respect historically significant things like that,
Hmm.
especially in gaming. Like it's important and it needs to be celebrated.
Yeah, that's kind of why Alone in the Dark kind of gets a bit of a pass.
Mm-hmm. Just barely.
Hmm.
Just barely.
Now,
I
speak.
if this was my tier, I'd give it an E for effort.
Yeah, yeah, if I added an extra one.
All
Now,
right.
speaking
Oh,
of cultural significance,
oh,
Need for
but this
Speed,
game holds up.
it does. On this one, I
I
have to
kind of want to
say,
I kind of want to put it in S. Yeah, because I really liked playing this one. I
it,
really like I knew it was like running on the Road Rash engine, so I was like, "Oh
mhm.
yeah, it'll be just as good." Like in some ways it might be better.
Honestly, to me, I think it is a better game than Road Rash. But the
Mhm.
reason why I feel like it should be like not only in S, but I think it should be as of now the top of S, is we had said it in the episode. This game is in a lot of ways the legacy of the 3DO.
Yeah, it is. Like we still get Need for Speed games. Like I think what was the last one? Was it Unbound? That was what like last year?
I think so, and I heard
Yeah,
actually that
like
one was decent.
Yeah, like EA, I mean, they've killed Burnout, but Need for Speed still lives. Like even
Well,
the teams that were making Burnout are now
are
making
making
Need
me
for Speed.
yep.
So like EA, even still to this day, views this series as important enough to keep it alive, which I think says something. And yeah, I really enjoyed playing this game. Though I honestly, if y'all want to play this game, I would say run it through an emulator and overclock the CPU
Mm,
because it'll run so much better. It already runs pretty fine on original hardware, like surprisingly good.
mm,
But if you want it to be a bit smoother and a much more stable frame rate, just like go into either like the Opera RetroArch one or get 4DO, the which actually 4DO is really good, and then just boost the clock speed in that, and the game will run better.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I really enjoyed Need for Speed. Even the kind of cheesy FMV stuff with
I
that
love
one
that
dude
shit.
who's like trying way too hard to be cool, you know? Like he gives off like divorced dad energy,
A
you
little.
know? Like he's newly single and he's been out of it, so he's like, "Oh, cars. Yeah, chicks dig cars. I like cars. We'll make cars my personality."
Yeah.
You know,
You
that
know,
kind of guy.
also like this cover is legit one of the most iconic covers in video game history.
It's a dope cover. I like it. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty good.
No, it's not. But like when I think like video game covers that like like are like staples of video gaming, like I always think of this one, like that the side of the
Yeah.
car there.
Yeah. But then by my from my viewpoints, I would say like John Madden on a football on a cover
Mm,
is also as iconic because he
true.
was on he was on a lot of Madden covers.
Yeah. And we should probably specify too, just for people who might not have seen some of our earlier episodes, when we say Need for Speed is the legacy, because technically Madden is still going strong to this day as well. Need for Speed debuted on 3DO.
Yes. This was its birthplace. This game did come out on platforms later, but it first
Mm,
released on 3DO.
yes.
So that it has that. So
Yeah. Madden predates the 3DO by quite a bit, so
I
it's
mean,
not quite.
there's a couple other games that are I think the legacy titles on 3DO, but I think Need for Speed is probably one of the more successful ones, even though it's not really connected to 3DO directly. Because there's one game that we play that is directly connected to 3DO,
Mm,
despite it not being 3DO exclusive. It's just kind of synonymous with it. We'll
yes.
get to that one. But yeah, Need for Speed. I think 3DO deserves that connection more. So
Mm,
so yeah, we'll put it in S, and I'm fine with it being at the top. Even if I would say maybe play Madden a little bit more over it, I'm perfectly fine with Need for Speed at the top.
mm. Now, this next game is one I've been looking forward to. It is probably the biggest surprise we've had.
All hail the Dude Meyer.
All hail the Dude Meyer.
All hail the Dude Meyer. Put that bitch in the S tier, baby.
Okay.
It
Now,
had just for us memeing on Dude Meyer, it deserves it.
that and it was a fucking amazing game
Icebreaker's great. Yeah,
for the time.
Icebreaker. It lives in my head rent free.
I still like whenever I do, whenever I fuck something up at work, in my head, I always go, uh oh.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty
Um,
good.
I won't put it above John Madden just because
No, 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 no.
these games are all masterpieces. They're also all EA games now that I think
Like,
about it.
I think if Icebreaker, if it wasn't such a meme for us, I would be comfy with putting it in the A tier.
Mm,
But I think just for this show's sake, it's fine in the S.
yeah. It's also just like one of the most. It's both most visually interesting and it's
Oh
just kind
yeah.
of a cool idea.
Oh yeah, it's such a unique experience that I'm surprised nobody has tried to replicate now. Because I feel like if you drop this on, I mean, I think I said in the episode, if this was like an XBLA arcade game, RIP the 360 store, if it came out on that, say during the peak of its era, this game probably would have done well and would probably be in the modern lexicon. I think the same way like a Braid or a Super Meat Boy is. Um,
Hell, even
it,
mobile phones. Like,
yeah, I don't know how this game would work on phones, but you know, we can give it a shot. But yeah, it's a fun game. It's a cool game. It's a shame that sequel never got made. Or I think it
uh,
was. I think they were working on. They're working on it for the M2. I think,
hmm,
which is why it never saw the light of day, unfortunately.
yeah. Now, next game, this was another one that was a absolute blast, and that is the Incredible Machine.
See, I feel like you're gonna hate me for this, but I would put this above Need for Speed. It's my favorite game we've played. Still, The Incredible Machine. It's my favorite game we've played. But are you thinking A for this?
I'd say yes, because it was a genuinely, can't speak. It was a genuinely good time all around. Well made game, addicting. Sorry, Aaron, but it's the best puzzler we played on the system.
Oh, by
Um,
a fucking mile. By a mile.
so I'll
I love this game. I found like the PC version of this, and I've been playing that. It's better on PC. Like having the mouse inputs definitely improve the game. But I love the aesthetic of the 3DO version, and it's just such a warm, kind of inviting experience. You know, it's such a unique concept for a game that still hasn't been done. It's same with Icebreaker. These two feel connected in that they're both really interesting ideas that haven't been done to death. Like this was, I think these two games are kind of the why we did this show, to kind of unearth these types of gems that have just been lost to time when they deserve much more recognition for their
oh yeah.
quality. So
So
yeah, and this is still like my favorite game we've played this entire show.
I'll compromise a little here. I'm just not comfortable putting it above Need for Speed, but I will put it above Road Rash.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I can live with that.
Okay. Uh, oh boy. So here's how we learned that we can't trust polls. So
Balls, 3D
it
balls.
it's down here. The real question though is where down here
It's
should we?
it's at the top of the shit pile.
Okay.
I would
That
put it above all the games in the shit pile. And hell, I would even be willing to throw it in a low C.
so
But
maybe when we add more games to the shit pile, because I know there's going to be some, maybe it'll get the
yeah,
bump. Um,
I'd be willing to give it a bump because honestly, it's not because I played this when I was sick and I think it was just kind of threw me off. But like remembering, I'm like, it's not the worst fighting game I've ever played. There are much worse fighting games from that era, but it is so fucking weird, you know. But
I
like,
know.
not a good weird. It's an off-putting weird, but I
Uh,
got way farther in that game than I ever expected. So for my somehow skill at 3D balls, I'd be willing to give it a bump. But we can keep it at the top of the shit pile. I think that's fine.
okay. My only question is, if we bumped it up, would you put it behind Alone in the Dark?
Yes,
Okay.
I'd
I'll
rather play this than Alone in the Dark, but Alone in the Dark again, it has the historical context to keep it up there.
okay. I'll leave it here for now, but
We'll leave it there.
we might move that around. So next we have hi Aaron. We've got Triple Threat Shanghai.
I didn't recognize that for a second. I was like, "What the hell game is that?"
Yeah, it
The
has a weird fucking cover.
yeah, it's a cool cover though. Cool ass
It
cover.
is.
It looks like you would see that if you went to like a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah,
It
probably.
has that look to it. Yeah.
So
When I'm coming in to get my lo mein for the week.
I I wouldn't call it a C tier because it's competent, but it's not the best B tier either.
I'd say hmm. Ooh, this is a tough one. This is a tough one because it's not bad. It's well made. We liked the music. It's just we all of us have this game just pre-installed on our computers. So it feels like a what's the point kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
it's
but it I don't know, like, even though theme park is much more complex, I feel like I'd rather play theme park than this. I feel like it was more rewarding, but I'd play this over Crash and Burn.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'll put it in C then for now.
Yeah, yeah. That right there feels right. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's just mahjong.
Yeah, which is
It's a
fine, but
it's
yeah,
good. It's a good mahjong, but it's just mahjong.
yeah, but you know, I'm more of a free cell guy.
Fair. Hell, I still, like we said earlier, Icebreaker and Incredible Machine are much better puzzlers.
Oh, it's not even that's not even a fair comparison.
I know. Just out of all the puzzlers on the system, I mean, those are the two that we can compare right now.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, next we get Shockwave.
Shockwave. I like half remember this one. This was like that third person shooter thing, right? That space
It was,
shooter.
yeah, it was a space shooter that was incredibly average, what I
Yeah.
remember.
It was one
Like,
of the most 5 out of 10 games I've ever played in my entire life.
yeah, it was competent,
Yeah.
but that's real. I mean, so there is another space. There is a couple more space shooters coming up that are, well, one of them's definitely better than this, but
Oh, yeah. I I know the one that you're thinking that's better. Yeah.
yeah, I'd say maybe a high C on technicality.
I'd be willing to give it a low B.
Low B?
Sure.
Yeah, that works for now.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe things will change, but
That one is open to move, but I'm willing there. I don't know, just my brain likes to keep things even.
see, Shockwave is in that category of like, I remember finding it fine, but at the same time, I don't remember much of it.
Yeah.
So
We'll see.
unfortunately, it's going to be a very middle of the road game. But next, I I don't know where to put this one. I really don't.
Oh, this is a tough one. Listeners, we're at plumbers don't wear ties.
I mean,
Um
it
where the
realistically, but
like
uh,
if we were memeing, it's at the top of the S pile. If we're wanting to be harsh, it's at the bottom of the shit pile. Like both spots, like it being the best or the worst, make 100% sense, right?
like because we said this was a double must play. Like
You know what? Throw it in the A. I can't. I honestly, in my head, I don't want to give it S tier.
no,
Like
because
putting it in the
that
same
just
category as all those games up there, honestly makes me sick to my stomach. But I'm willing to throw it in the A pile. It's
see
not better than Return Fire, not by
no,
a
not
long
at all.
shot. But again, this is another game that it's risen in its cultural significance in the last handful of years and has become a game that is synonymous with the system for better or for worse. Hell, it got a fucking remaster that I have all the achievements in.
Same.
So, like, I'm willing to throw it in A just because it was it's kind of like Twisted. It's such a fucking insane experience you have to have. But this
I
just
mean,
goes so much more over the top with it.
I legitimately loved my entire time playing that game because it
Yeah.
honestly, I loved all the behind the scenes shit that came with the. I'm not a limited run fan by any means, but like
I feel like they half-assed that remaster though.
they did, but I did love all the behind the scenes stuff, like the commentary with the lady that played Jane. I'm forgetting
Jane, yeah.
her name right now.
You can just say Jane, it's fine. I see my issue is I wish that interview went more in detail. Like I think the issue was they didn't really have a good interviewer or really like get into the nitty-gritty cuz like interviewing people is an art form. And there's a way to like really get in there and I was hoping for like more detail than just like what I would read on her Wikipedia page, you know.
Yeah,
So but yeah, yeah, there was that and then there was like the weird menu stuff with the bonuses and the most interesting stuff was reading how they how they remastered the game.
oh yeah.
Like that was I found that to be the most interesting part. I don't know if you listened to any of the commentary tracks. They were not great.
No, I the only one I liked was the one where they played the game with uh Jeannie Bassan, I think her name was.
Yeah, that one was okay. The other one felt completely useless to me, but
Yeah.
because the genie one was more interesting. It's so weird they didn't get John for this. Like they
Apparently they
mentioned
reached
that
out.
they had him on board and he helped out a bit, But like as far as doing like press or any kind of like mainstream advertising like Jane did, it just didn't like he wasn't willing to do any of that.
Hmm.
But like they got him to help out with like the remaster and everything. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, A tier. I think A tier is appropriate for this one.
we've just triggered some people somewhere with this choice, but
I
I don't,
good. Good. That's what we're
there's
here for.
there's that one hardcore D fan that's like, "What is wrong with you people?"
It's Dre. It's Dre.
Uh,
Hi Dre. He's probably listening. Hi Dre.
I, yeah, I know, but it's weird that like Plumbers Don't Work Eyes was one of the funnest games we played for this
It was. It was
game in
like
quotation marks.
even when you know everything, like sitting there and watching it unabridged, unfiltered, like seeing it properly, I think it does something to you. Like my brain chemistry has not been the same.
Yeah, it was definitely it was a 3DO experience.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. You said the title, we can leave.
But okay, so the next one, Jurassic Park Interactive.
Oh
I
god.
both liked and hated this game at the same time.
Yeah, it's the concept is there, some of it works, some of it doesn't work. I ended up really not enjoying this one, mainly for not being able to figure out that fucking Velociraptor game. I just
Oh yeah.
couldn't figure it out, and it hurt me because all the other ones I figured them out, no problem. But
Hmm.
that was the one that just honestly killed my enjoyment of this game because I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I didn't know, and the game, even looking through the manual, it didn't really explain how any of it worked, you know. And I've watched speedruns, I've seen people figure it out, and it
Hmm.
kind of hurts me that they could do it and I couldn't. But I don't know. It's definitely of the Jurassic Park games from that era. Like if we're gonna compare it to say like the games on that Jurassic Park collection, like the NES, the Genesis versions, and all that, it's definitely the worst of its kind,
Yeah.
right? Because like I mean that NES Super Nintendo Jurassic Park game, the overhead one, I don't care for that one either. The Game Boy one isn't particularly great either. The Genesis games are solid. I have a big fondness for Rampage Edition because I grew
Yeah.
up with that game as a kid and I know it pretty well. Um, I don't know. It's not a shit game. I don't. Shit pile feels unfair,
I
but C tier feels fair.
yeah.
I think it's fair to put it in the C tier. I'd play it above Alone in the Dark. I would put it above that. I
Okay.
I don't think I'd put it above Crash and Burn though.
Okay. So probably fair. Just put it here.
That feels right to me.
'Cause there was things I liked. There
Yeah.
was also a lot I didn't like.
And those weird mini games you played on Dennis Nedry's computer, that stuff was just really confusing to me.
But we got the dump files. The dump file.
Never mind. Throw it in S. No.
I, I was gonna say put it in shit for dump, but
No,
uh,
it's better than that. All
all
right.
right. Next we have the one that everybody remembers.
Oh, Mr. Lizard, the lizard people. They're real, everybody. They exist on the 3DO.
When did
Gex,
Danica
Gex,
when did
Gex.
Danica Patrick get
Gex, Gex, Gex. Where do we put Gex? Because I really enjoyed my time with Gex. It's one of the 3DO games I saw to the end. I did beat the
here?
whole thing and really enjoyed my time with it. However, I think the 3DO version doesn't run particularly well.
No.
Because later on I played because I did buy the version on GOG and I did play a bit of it and it runs so much better on there.
Yeah, the Saturn and
It
PlayStation versions also just run better.
Yeah, because when you play this game at full speed, it makes a lot more sense. Because on 3DO it's much slower, but it's like consistently slow, so you kind of get used to it.
Hmm.
But for a game that's supposed to have a lot of attitude, man, it feels like when you slow it down, it kind of gets in the way because you still have like all the quirkiness of it, and it kind of has its own set of rules as a platformer, but it does a really good job of establishing itself as a unique game in that genre when it was a very saturated genre at the time. So, and it's still memorable. We still talk about it to this day. So it did
Oh yeah.
something right. That's just the 3DO version. I don't think I can put it in S just because it doesn't run very well. I'm willing to put it at the top of the A's. I would put it
Top of
above
A.
Return Fire. Yeah. Like, I think I'd play Return Fire more, but I think X is probably the better game of the two.
The ending credits song alone, I think, pushes it above.
And that final boss battle was
Yeah.
kind of not great.
Yeah. But like some of the earlier ones were pretty good. It's a very kind of all over the place kind of game.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about it. It felt like an adventure, which I think all the best platformers do that. You know, they give
It
you that sort of adventure feeling.
it was a very original platformer. I think
Yes.
that's the best way of putting it. It tried a lot of new things. Some of them worked, not everything did, but overall as a debut as a series debut, I think it did its job very well.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll be interesting to check back whenever Limited Run does that Gex collection, because my guess is we'll both probably play it and mess around with the games in there. So,
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd
and
love
w-
to
and,
talk
and
about.
we might cover it later on.
I could see us covering Gex 2 anyways. Maybe
Yeah,
3.
I haven't played those, and I will refrain until the collection comes out, which probably, knowing Limited Run, will be like 2026.
Yeah, at this rate.
Yeah,
Um
for old ass games anyway.
all right. Here's where we're going to have some debate. I know where you want to put this one.
Whoa! Oh, Rat Way of the Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw that shit in shit tier. It's where it
Okay.
belongs. That's where it belongs.
Sorry, Casey.
Got it. Fucking. That was a fun episode. That was
I
a
know.
fun ass episode. That was one of my favorite episodes we did.
Um, I'm with you on
You
the
got
fact that
me
the
to
game.
rage, which is always good
Yeah,
content.
I loved for a while there. It was like no matter like I'd always be like, which game's worse, this or D? And you'd be like, fuck, Way of the Warrior.
Yeah,
Um,
and I still feel that way.
okay.
Awful game. Would I put it? Would I put it above D?
I mean,
No,
it's
no, I can't do it. I can't. I was gonna try to be. Can I say anything nice about Way of the Warrior?
um,
I'm trying.
it Naughty Dog would go on to do great things.
That doesn't mean much.
Um, White
Yeah,
Zombie.
I do like White Zombie. Its soundtrack is better than D's, which D doesn't really have a soundtrack.
Um, you got Jason Rubin filming a weird porno according to his roommate, according to the
I'd rather
other
watch
roommate.
that. I would have rather watched that.
Uh,
I mean,
you know,
eventually we're gonna talk about porn on this show.
yeah, we have to talk about that one company.
Yeah. Stay tuned, kids.
I'll leave it here for now. We'll debate more later after we get
Okay.
everything on.
Okay. Oh boy. This next one's gonna be tough.
Yeah. So, flashback. Another.
Much like Alone in the Dark, it's historically very important. And I
And
think
we both enjoyed playing it to a degree.
I had a rough time with the original. Um, if you look through the Discord chats, I did mention my frustration playing it at the time because I really like Another World. Like, I've
Yes.
played that, I've seen that to the end, and that game holds up way more than Flashback. But I feel like Flashback gets more of the credit, and I get why. But it was just, it was one of the few it honestly frustrated me about the same levels like a Way of the Warrior did, and just how rough it was. But I did buy the remake and played through that, and that had its own issues. I know some people aren't too high on it, but I was able to actually beat it, so I've seen that all the way through. But I feel I don't know. Part of me wants to put it in B. I feel like C's too harsh on it because there's things about it I like, and it's genuinely a fascinating game. It interests me.
I remember it more than Shockwave, if that says anything.
Yeah, I would put it above Shockwave, sure,
Okay.
but I'd rather play Soccer Kid.
Fair. So the
Even though like still like seeing theme park sit and see, I'm like, man, I kind of want to move it up just because it's like there's so many other games I'd rather play. But let's leave it there. Let's
no,
not do any
okay.
adjustments till we're done.
Yeah, we
It
still
was
got a
just a
whole lot
thought
of
I had in my head.
we got a whole lot of golf to get through. uh,
C's are gonna get filled up.
so the next game, I mean,
Unfortunately, like it's specifically the 3DO version of Doom
yes,
is
the
notoriously awful.
the
So
story
it's
behind it,
nothing. It's nothing to speak on the quality of Doom. Like as we all know, the original Doom is an S tier game.
yes. Honestly, the reason why that episode was called the 2-for-1 special was because literally we talked. Doom was literally story time. There was no talking about the game in question because everybody knows Doom. The story
Yeah,
behind 3DO Doom is the most interesting part of that game.
yeah, and it's just that version is very bad. I actually did boot it up on emulator at one point, and
Yeah.
man,
And
that's rough.
literally the best part of it is kind of ruined by the fact that the guy who made it is a piece of shit. So,
Yeah, that's true. So, but yeah,
so yeah,
that I'm fine with putting it down there just for
yeah.
how kind of infamous it is.
Like
That's fine.
that. This is the one thing I will like defend. I'll defend Way of the Warrior. It's going above that. That's for sure.
I'll give it that. You know what? I'll give it that.
Okay. Then
So
Family
at least they
Feud.
were trying to do something very well. They were trying to do something.
I mean, Way of the Warrior functions. It's just not a particularly good game.
Yeah, Doom on 3DO barely functions.
Give Rebecca Heineman all the props that it works at
Hey,
all.
she tried her best. She did. It's just
She
she was a victim of circumstance.
The fact that it runs is more props to her. Like what the
Yeah,
quality of the game says nothing on how talented she was as a programmer.
exactly. She has better examples of work.
Oh yeah. Um. So Family Feud was Family Feud.
Did
It's
you
not.
ever play? Did you ever play this?
Yeah, I did boot it up. I did one like slight emulated round before that episode, and I remember
Okay.
finding it fine, but it was also Family Feud.
Yeah. I've probably played more video game Family Feud than most people. It's not the best version of it that exists out there, but I think bottom of the seed pile feels perfect.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
it's
fine,
it.
but
Yeah, it works. I wish it went more crazy with the FMV stuff. Like there
yeah,
was more of that, but and there was just certain survey question answer thing. That's the issue with playing Family Feud, like an older version of it, is the mindset of say this type of thing from like 94 and 95 is a lot different than now. So these games are kind of hard to play as like legacy titles, you know?
yeah,
Like you could argue Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune have similar things, but Wheel of Fortune is just like Hangman basically. You can kind of figure it out. With Jeopardy, a lot of it is just like, trivia,
mhm.
and trivia doesn't really age.
Nah, like
So, but with Family Feud, it's like asking people what's on people's minds at that particular time, which
yeah,
is what makes it hard to play.
like in terms of like game show games on the 3DO. I mean, I don't feel comfortable putting it in the same category as Twisted because Twisted is just a much more interesting
Oh
game.
yeah. Oh yeah. Twisted is so much better.
So I think it's fine here because it's not shit, but it's also not particularly interesting.
It's fine. It does its job.
But next we got this is the most interesting game I think we played.
Oh yeah.
Just because
Biofury.
the fact that it was a brand new game.
Yeah, the fan game. Shout out to the dev because I did email
Retro
him.
retro love letter. He did
Yeah,
like all of our stuff, which was nice.
that's nice. Yeah, he liked our stuff. I did send him an email, and he, came out and really appreciated it. So who knows? He may be a listener now. We have no idea. If so, how you doing, man? We're talking about your game again.
So
Um,
I don't know if I'd say it's an S tier, but it's definitely an A tier for me.
it's at the very least an A tier, just because it's a very, very well made fan game. And usually with fan games, I tend to be nicer to them. Um, I did find the game, particularly in the later levels, to be really difficult,
Hmm.
but I was able to beat the whole thing. So,
In
and it was great. It definitely needs a little bit more, but for a first attempt, I really enjoyed it, and I think where you're putting it in A tier, that fits. I think that's where
okay.
it Should be. Yeah. I can't put it above Return Fire or Gex. I don't think it reaches those heights,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
and I'm
But
not
for
going to.
one guy doing this in his spare time, like,
Yes,
very impressive.
and I'm not going to insult him by putting it below Plumber's Nowhere Palace,
No, 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 no,
because
no, no.
that's
He might unlike everything.
that's our little meme for this list right here. But I'm not going to
Yeah,
put a legitimately.
but Plumbers is a meme,
It
so
is.
that's what it should be.
We legitimately liked it, but I don't
Yeah,
want
we
to.
did. We
I
did.
don't. I don't want to insult the guy and put it above his game, which was really solid.
Exactly. I
So
think I hopefully he understands.
yeah. All right. So this one I'm a little split on. Wing Commander 3.
Wing Commander 3. Wing Commander 3.
This is the game we got pushback on. Well, mostly
We
me,
did. We did. Well,
because I had said the PlayStation version was better, and everyone was like, "You're stupid. The 3DO version's the best one." And I'm just like, "All right, sorry, I
never
didn't agree."
underestimate the retro gaming community, okay? They could be ruthless at times.
Yeah,
I've seen some stuff.
I know.
Um this is a tough one, man.
I mean, this is a
Again,
very
this much like BioFury, this is a game that impresses me.
it does.
Down to like it's really high production value. The acting is very solid. Everyone's like taking it really seriously, and it's kind of interesting. You know, the plot and kind of what it's trying to do and everything. I enjoy, and how it
I
kind
love
of puts Luke Skywalker in a slightly older position. You know,
and I like
but
the kind of proto Mass Effect feel to it.
yeah, like you can definitely tell Mass Effect had an influence, or this had an influence on Mass Effect for sure. But the playing of it was perfectly fine until that one spot I got stuck in, and I kept trying, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get past that one specific level. I tried just about everything I could think of, and nothing seemed to work. So again, it could just be me missing something. I don't know, but that really hampered my enjoyment of the game.
Hmm.
Essentially, soft locking myself.
I I feel like it's A tier just for this because this is like legit considered one of the greatest games ever made.
See, I wouldn't go that far, saying one of the greatest games ever made.
Well, I'm
You
talking maybe not my opinion specifically, but in the terms of the general gamer, like from what I've seen online, this is considered
sure,
one of the most important games ever made.
sure. I did see footage of the PC version of this game, and it looks so much better.
Yeah,
And it's probably the preferred version to play. Hopefully nobody attacks me for that. But I I don't know if it deserves to be in the A tier, but just for me to keep everything even, we can throw it in there for now.
okay. But to tick them off one more time, let's put it behind Plumbers.
I'd rather play Plumbers. Like kind of legit.
All right, we'll leave it there for now, and we'll see what
Yeah,
comes
we'll see.
next.
We'll see. We'll see.
Um, all right, this was another kind of disappointing one. The
The
Horde.
Horde.
I don't want to say shit, but
I have a soft spot for the Horde. I do. Because this is definitely a game that if I had it as a kid and it was like one of the only games I had, I would have sunk dozens of hours into this. I could see it. It's one of those games that I could see my pea brain kind of getting hooked on and just kind of getting into the motion of it. And again, I didn't hate it for what it was. I mean, I kind of got into it after a certain point, you know.
it's a
Um,
fun enough game. I just felt like it was very underwhelming. Was my biggest problem with it.
yeah, but I didn't go in expecting it to be more than what it was.
True.
Like those opening cutscenes are incredible. Like the Ren Fair quality, like sets and costumes and fucking Kirk Cameron. I think did he go religious by the I don't know if he did yet. This was maybe around the time he became born again, which can of worms not going there. Um I honestly I think it's a B tier.
So I was thinking if we were going to put it C, I was going to put it at the front of C, but I think maybe B.
Sure, sure. Man,
Um,
this is man,
would you?
seeing theme park down there really hurts me.
Yeah.
But we'll
Would you?
change it as we go.
Would you put it above Shockwave?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because again, the Horde is a memorable experience, and I did enjoy my time with it. But I think Shockwave is more competently made.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm kind of stuck.
Mm. But Shockwave is just it's kind of a nothing game, really. But the
Yeah,
Horde is something. So I'd say
I
a Horde above it, but the Horde
yeah,
above it. Yeah.
but then
That's no,
Flash.
no, no.
Okay,
Flashback should stay above it, I think.
okay, all right. I love that cover too. That cover is pretty
Yeah,
wonderful.
I love it. I'm glad I have a physical of it.
Yeah, because I have the Saturn version. The Saturn cover is
It's awful. Dog shit.
not nearly as fun.
Yeah.
So this next one,
Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. You're really gonna put it that low in the S tiers, buddy?
well, I put it
It
here
needs
for
to go
now.
up a little. It needs to go a little higher than that.
I put it here by default. We were going to discuss.
Yeah, yeah. It's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. It's an S tier game. Like, you know me, I'm not big into Street Fighter anyways. I'm more of a Mortal Kombat guy, but I can't deny the quality of this game and that the 3DO version is still a very solid version of it.
It's
It's been surpassed these days because you can just play the arcade version on modern platforms. But for a port of that game to this platform, comparing it to say the Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo versions of it, or like a PS1 version or whatever, like this is just hands down the best version. Like the PS1 versions of I think Street Fighter Alpha were uh did a kind of replicated this in terms of
mm,
their quality, I think.
so obviously it's better than as much as I love the Dude Meyer. It's better than
Oh,
that.
it's better than Icebreaker. I'd put it above Madden.
Okay.
I'd put it above Road
Yeah,
Rash. I don't want to put it above Incredible Machine. I don't want to.
it's it's tough because I think we said on the episode it is legitimately probably in terms of just
Objectively the best game.
on the system,
Yeah,
but
by a
in
mile.
terms of games we liked on the system,
I like Incredible Machine more.
I think we enjoyed these two more.
Yeah, and I think those titles I kind of associate with the 3DO more than
Yeah.
Street Fighter. Because Street Fighter, I just think of as an arcade game.
Street Fighter 2 on the 3DO is one of those weird where it's kind of like everyone remembers it for having the worst version of Doom and the best version of Street Fighter at the time.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
one of
because
those
those were
weird.
like the big contemporary franchises.
Hmm. Yeah, well,
So,
I'll leave it here for now because I
mhm.
feel like in terms of our actual opinions of the show, I think we like these more, but it is an S tier game and
It should be
arguably,
there. Yeah, Capcom stay winning.
yeah.
That's just what they do. If they somehow fit Resident Evil on here, it probably would have been great.
Hmm.
Imagine a Resident Evil 3DO port.
I feel like it could have done it. It just
That would have
probably
been awesome. Oh, I would
it
have
would
loved
have
to have played that on here.
it probably would have been rough, but I feel like they could have done it.
I feel like if the M2 was a thing, it would have come to that.
Hmm. So next for back to sports games, Slam and Jam 95. I don't want to put
Slam
it lower
and
than
Jam.
I don't want to put it lower than B, but I remember this was one that like we
I liked
both
Slam and Jam.
I think we both agreed it was a really well-made game. We just both sucked at basketball.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I'm really terrible at basketball games, kind of in general. I mean, I can kind of hold my own in NBA Jam, but that's really about it. But yeah, I really like this game. It
I
was
did too.
it was really fun. The camera perspective was really bad,
Yeah.
and it was like I found it when you were controlling every member of your team, it made the game really hard because you guys were just fucking dumb otherwise. But then when you did say you pick one guy and that's your guy, I found the game to be much more playable. Despite having some issues with it, it felt like the AI constantly was going to the guy you were tasked with defending, and they would just steamroll me every time.
Mm.
But I still liked it. Like the commentary was really good.
Oh yeah.
The options were solid. Like shooting felt good. You had options for like turning off and on fouls, so you could kind of arcade it up a little bit if you wanted to, or make it a little bit more sim. It was very advanced, I think, for its era as far as basketball games go, and I could see like the eventual like NBA 2K series taking influence from this.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think it deserves to be in a B because it is a solid game.
So
And
I
is it the only sports game Crystal Dynamics ever made?
well, Crystal didn't technically make it; they just published it.
That's true. I forget who
It,
made this then.
it was the company that
Left
made
Field?
Left Field. Yep. Yeah, because I made the
Yeah.
joke, a hit from out of left field or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, let's see.
So
Where do
I'd
we put this guy?
I'd put it above the soccer kid, probably.
I think right there. I don't want to put it above Twisted, but I think
Okay.
like it kind of sits somewhere in like the direct middle of the pack. And I
So
think that's a good fit.
here's my question now: did we put FIFA too high?
We'll see. We'll
Okay.
see. Let's finish them out. We don't have too many left.
Okay. So this is probably the biggest disappointment.
This was my disappointment. This one hurt me
I don't want to
because
say shit tier.
I really wanted to like this one because I fought hard to play this one,
Hmm.
and then it just really saddened me. I don't want to give it shit. You could justify giving it the shit tier because I think it is disappointing and it just doesn't live up to the potential that it has. You know,
I mean,
and especially now I've played like a contradiction spot the liar. So I've played
oh
like
yeah,
another kind of detective game, and that game is incredible. And this just doesn't stack up, unfortunately. But I shouldn't compare it to that.
yeah.
But what would I play it over 3D balls?
Hmm. I mean, I would personally, just because I don't really like balls, but
He likes the other kind. Uh,
yeah.
we can throw in the bottom of the C's for now.
Okay.
It's not better than Family Feud.
It's yeah.
I'd play Family Feud over it. Easy.
So now we get to the golf games.
Oh God.
So right off the bat, I'm just gonna put the Lynx games all in C tier because they were, or would you
Yeah.
say B?
No, C.
C. I'm gonna put those
Yeah.
three in
They all
C.
deserve C.
Now before we get to these two, because these two are slightly different, would you put them anywhere higher or
No.
lower?
Nope.
Right there.
I think that's where
Uh,
they would be. I would play Psychic Detective over all three of them.
so I will say, Walele or whatever was the best of the three.
Walale, yeah, Walale was the best one. And then between Pebble and Wicked 18, that's up to you. I'm cool either way.
Wicked was more visually interesting, but Pebble played better. I'll just leave him like that. But
That's
Walele was
fine.
the best.
Yeah.
Um. So World Cup golf, I think, was the most interesting, but it was hampered by the worst controls.
Do you want to throw that in the shit tier?
I
I think it's too good to be in the shit tier.
yeah, ironically as a game, it's better than these three, but it was just
Yeah.
control wise, it wasn't. Honestly, I'd play it over Psychic Detective.
You know what? I can live with. I wouldn't put it above Family Feud though.
Okay.
Sure.
Um.
PGA
uh,
Tour, I liked this one. Like
yeah.
quite a bit actually.
This was the only one I could actually finish a full round of golf.
Oh
Um.
yeah. I played a couple rounds of this.
I-
You know what? Top of the beast.
Top of the bees. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd play this
I'm
over.
a golf, you know me, I'm a golf game sicko. So throw the shit at the top of the piece.
I inherently hate golf for personal reasons, but I
I
will
get
say
it.
this was this was the most fun out of all of those, and I would play it over FIFA.
Yeah. It's not perfect, but for golf games on the 3DO, this is your bet. This is it basically, as far as I'm concerned.
Now for another huge disappointment.
Ah, sad Nost.
I
You know
wanted to
what?
like this.
I kind of want to throw that in the shit tier. I kind of do.
It was better than Station Invasion, but
Yes, it's better than that. I'd rather play 3D balls over that.
yeah, I mean, but Balls was at least a game. This was
Yeah, it was.
something.
It was something. It was something, all right.
I mean, I kind of feel bad putting like PO'd below it, but
It just doesn't run well.
I know that's the
I think that's what gives PO the real disadvantage was it just ran like ass. And I think that's kind of like the ultimate thing, like to me, the only game that can be a 0 is if it doesn't work. If it doesn't
True.
work, then it's a 0 because you can't even play it. If you can play it, it's at least a 1.
Now, interesting bringing that up because this is a game that runs incredibly well, but plays not so great.
I would put Starblade between Family Feud and
Alone in the Dark,
that. No, below it.
a blow.
Yeah, right there.
Which is
That
sad because it is the most
it's neat.
functional.
It's a
Like,
neat game.
hmm,
But
yeah,
but would you ever play it again?
not on 3DO.
No,
Like,
I
I
wouldn't
think we
either.
both,
I would download the arcade ROM and play that.
yeah, I think that was our big agreement was that it was just a better arcade. It was a game that was meant for arcades. The 3DO controller was not designed for that game.
Exactly. All
But
right,
boy,
last
was it
one.
pretty.
Oh,
Boy, was
very
it
pretty.
pretty.
Very pretty. All right, last game. Tripped.
Hi, Aaron
Hi,
again.
hi, Aaron. Yeah.
Um,
I wonder where he would put the 2 games we played. I wonder.
so I put it
Maybe
above
he'll let us know.
Shanghai, definitely.
I'd put it above Shanghai. Yeah.
But would you put it above theme park?
No.
Okay. So fun enough puzzle game, but it literally, unless you get stuck in a 2 hour game like I do, it's pretty one and done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so weird the puzzle games on this console, how many of them there are, and the kind of wide ranging ideas and quality that they are. It's very interesting.
Hmm. And I think there is a few more that we still have to trek out, but that's for
Yeah,
later
Bust a Move.
episode.
We gotta do Bust a
Oh yeah,
Move.
Bust a Move. I keep forgetting that's on there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've already played a bit of it.
So we filled the board. Now this
Yeah,
is
we
where
we gotta start moving some stuff around because
so
this doesn't feel correct.
we've already mentioned it a few times, but I'm gonna just preemptively.
Yeah, throw theme park in B. I honestly would put it between Soccer Kid and Slam and Jam.
That's fair because it is.
Because
We were kind of harsh.
the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I like theme park. I like it for what it is. I
Now,
if you want to move down FIFA, I'm fine with that. I think it should stay in B.
yeah, it's not worse than a B, but I would probably honestly I'd probably play Slam and Jam before I played FIFA.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Um, let's see. Yeah, I can live with that. That feels right. But here, instead, here, like S tier. Are we happy with all the S's?
I think S tier is fine because I'm pretty sure that's about the order I would play them. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. A tier,
the
A
only
tier.
ones like the only
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the only argument to add to S is Gex, but I think it is perfectly fine as the top of A.
Yeah, A feels right for it. My only issue with A is a part of me wants to move Wing Commander out of it. But to be fair, B is already really crowded.
Yeah,
So
I mean then we have plumbers in A, which is makes this list entirely
yeah,
funny. But
yeah. Maybe for the memes, we'll leave them together
okay,
just so that people see that, and maybe those haters will come back.
we'll get someone angry.
Yeah, B
Um,
tier. Now that we put theme park in there, move some stuff around. Um, yeah, that all feels right. I think B feels right. Does B feel right to you?
B, everything in there I believe should be in there. C is the one that I have the most questions about.
Yeah, C just feels like a cluster right now. Like we need to like properly organize C.
Like, so the two that I'm wondering are do you feel like any could move up?
Which one's you thinking?
It's honestly Tripped and Shanghai are the two that I'm wondering if maybe they're better than C.
I'd be willing to throw Tripped in B, not Shanghai.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I'm thinking this because Tripped is better than Shanghai. Like Tripped is
Yes.
an interesting, fun game. The only thing that holds it back is it's a puzzle game. You kind of once you've played it, you've experienced it.
Yeah, but I'm willing to throw it in B because it does have its quirks. And
it is
I did have fun with the music mode.
it is a very visually appealing game too, like from the
Yeah.
box art and the game
Yeah.
itself.
And
I
a part of me didn't want 2 rows of C.
yeah, it was throwing my OCD off there a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. The rest of this is going to, but it's fine. Looking at everything else.
I'm thinking we probably should look at the order for C a bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we need to as well.
I kind of feel like this is too high.
Psychic Detective's too high.
Yeah,
If you want to move it down, that's fine.
I mean,
I don't throw it in the shit. I don't think it deserves to be in the shit tier.
I'd probably play the golf games over it, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of would too.
Now,
Let's see.
which is funny because I think we actually said in the episode this was the worst one, but we put it above them.
Hindsight a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's we respect the ambition of it.
Honestly, in terms of a game, I'd probably actually play this over Starblade.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. But I'm not willing to move on Family Feud though.
No.
Because I think Family Feud is almost like the litmus test. Like if the game is better than Family Feud on the 3DO, then I think you're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Because
so
a part of me doesn't want Alone in the Dark above Family Feud, but it's like I get it. You know?
yeah, I
I
mean,
feel like I'm disrespecting it by putting it below Family Feud.
yeah. I mean, because it is still like a very important game.
Yeah. Because everything else I think is fine. Like Shanghai, Crash and Burn, Jurassic Park, that feels right.
Yeah. Now, other than that, there's the shit tier. I'm pretty okay.
I almost want to make a case of throwing 3D balls in the C tier. But I don't know. Maybe it needs to be in there. It's just such a wacky experience that I surprisingly didn't hate. I think I was more confused than anything.
The thing is, I feel like if we move that up, we should move something down.
But what would we move into the shit tier?
That's the question. I mean, Psychic's borderline.
No, I can't justify throwing it in the shit tier. Maybe I'm willing to change my mind on it. Let's flip them. Let's see how it looks.
Actually, I have a compromise.
What are you thinking?
We'll put balls over here, and then this one was just too visually busy. I'm okay with throwing this in the shit tier.
You throw Wicked 18 in the shit tier.
Yeah, it was too much. Like these at least were pleasing.
Yeah. A part of me wants to put 3D balls above Psychic Detective though.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
This at least functions.
Yeah, it's true. It is better. It's better than the other console ports at the time.
This one had sex noises in it.
A couple of these games did actually.
Yeah.
More than you'd think.
And
then the shit tier. Honestly, I think Zadnost is the best of the shit tier.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Honestly, the problem with Zadnost was mostly just it was functional, but it tried a lot of things.
There just wasn't much to it, and it was confused.
The most interesting part of that game wasn't very good, and that was the wheel of whatever.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It didn't really know what it wanted to do. You know, was it trying to be meta and say something, but it kind of got lost in whatever it was trying to say? I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Part of me wants to put a Station Invasion above Wicked 18, but that's as far as I'm willing to go. Yeah,
that's
and then that's that all that feels fine now.
Yeah,
do you want to make your case for Way of the Warrior?
No, I'm just happy it's not at the bottom because I just don't.
Yeah. I just think that Port of Doom is so bad it kind of needs to be at the bottom, unfortunately. Even though it is Doom, It is Doom at the end of the day, but
It's Doom at the end of the day, and it has a really interesting soundtrack. The problem is that soundtrack is tainted now, and
yeah.
the interesting story can only take it so far.
Yeah. Yeah, unless some weirdos online discover us like shitting on the guy behind this, and then they try to defend him. The Grums camp, because it's like the Grums people that would defend that dude.
I've seen enough on Twitter with all these freaking YouTuber implosions lately that
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me.
I discovered a fucking crazy Nintendo fanboy the other day. His name's Harmon Smith. Oh,
Oh,
he has some takes, buddy. Oh my
oh no,
god. Oh my god. Crazy. But we won't discuss that on here.
no. So
Some some of them are awful. Like he made a video about all the Blizzard stuff that happened.
so
Anyways, back to
I'm
the fun stuff.
I'm pretty happy, I think, with everything we've got here.
This feels right. This feels right, and it covers a interesting wide gambit of genres and play styles and philosophies and ideas. Like there's a lot of variety on here.
There is, and I've got to say, I'm actually kind of surprised how many games ended up S tier. I figured there was going to be at least 5. These are solid quality games, like all
Oh
around.
yeah, basically, I
Even
would say like everything from the S tier to like maybe the first half of the B tier, maybe even a little bit more of the first half of the B tier, are all like quality games that are worth your time.
hmm, and even some of the C tier like are worth just a play like once
Yeah,
anyway.
they're worth looking at for sure. And then the shit tier, I mean, even there's some stuff in the shit tier. I'd say if you wanted to play that, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I will say, what do you think is going to be the most controversial? I mean, besides this, what do you think? What do you think's the most controversial choice here?
I'm honestly not sure. Everything feels correct to me,
I'm
unless some people see Doom at the bottom of the ship pile and get mad because it's Doom,
Well, because
and
they've
they don't
never played Doom on
because they don't
3DO.
know the 3DO port. Like that could be like a misunderstanding take. Um, some people may not like Incredible Machine being so
Yeah,
high. I think Road Rash not being at the top is might be the most controversial
true.
because some
Although,
people love Road Rash on here, and I totally get it.
I
It's
mean,
a fantastic game, but there were just personal preference was a little bit higher on a couple of those.
me personally speaking, it's my favorite 3DO game, but
Mhm.
I can't argue. Street Fighter is arguably. I'm
Yeah,
sure there's going to be someone that's going to complain that Street Fighter isn't at the top, but
yeah, I could see that.
I could honestly make a case for it, at least from Need for Speed to Madden. Icebreaker's a bit personal for us, but
Yeah, like Incredible Machine is still my favorite game we've played, but not having it at the top makes it. That's fine. That's perfectly fine.
if it,
Some people might be upset Gex or even Return Fire aren't an S tier, and I could totally understand that.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, if it wasn't for like the significance of Need for Speed, I honestly agree that these are arguably probably better. But I just feel like
yeah, but it's also Need for Speed is also really good, man.
it is. It's one of those things where it's like,
It's historically significant, but it's also really good.
like these games right here are all really solid times.
Oh
I just
yeah,
when it comes to like impact though after the 3DO, this is by far the one that made the biggest impact. I mean, you could make arguments, but Need for Speed really is like the
yeah.
one.
So what you need to do is you need to make a copy of this and then post it on the Twitter,
Hmm.
and then people can discuss from there. So if you guys have any opinions on the tier list, you can go to the 3DO experience at Twitter. We will have this posted and you can comment under it. Let us know what you think, or maybe you can kind of make your own. Unfortunately this isn't a public one, but if anything, maybe say what you would move around or what you would change. Please let us know.
Trying to figure out how to download it.
Just hit download.
It wasn't doing anything. Oh, there we go.
Hey,
Now
there we go. Just
I'm
wait till
sure
we do. Just wait till we do like band tier lists. Oh God.
Oh, sure.
we'd stir some shit with that.
Nice. And I'll throw this into, yeah, download, whatever. I'll get it later. But yeah, that was our first attempt at a tier list. I think it went pretty well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think we'll probably end up doing maybe another one later. Maybe when we do like say another 40-ish games,
Yeah.
maybe we'll do a separate one for that, and then maybe we'll compare them.
No, definitely.
So, but
But
that'll be in the future.
so we've concluded the first half of this episode. And now for the second half of our 50th episode milestone, we wanted to do some Q&As. So I think maybe we start with Twitter, then move on to the Discords.
Sure, sure. I didn't see any of the Twitter questions, so this will
So
be
I
fun.
we got a few. I know that for a fact. So let's hop over to the Twitters
Thank you,
and
everyone, for your questions. By the way,
yeah. So we got three questions from the Twitter. First off, from Jay. Since starting the show, what is the most pleasant surprise in covering the library, and how has your thoughts on the console changed since giving it a more thorough look?
most pleasant surprise. I would say the most pleasant surprise I think was honestly probably like Madden being good. Because I wasn't sure because I knew the Maddens from this era were solid, but I wasn't sure how a specifically 3DO version would go with having that FMV in there, and I was pleasantly surprised at that. I was so pleasantly surprised at Gex as well because it was such like a meme game. You're never quite sure. But I'm glad that was good. I was pleasantly surprised at the quality of like Need for Speed as well. Because you're never sure with the beginning of series how they're going to hold up, but that one pleasantly surprised me.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I guess my perspective on the 3DOs it's changed. Is that like I mean, it's more a part of my life now, so I don't view it probably as like a novelty like a lot of people do. But but my perception of it is that it's a little interesting box that I would throw it maybe in the same camp as like a Sega Master System or a TurboGrafx 16, where it's one of those that it's not up there with like the real top ones, but it has enough going on for itself that makes it kind of interesting.
Hmm.
So like deep diving into it as its own console, there are worse consoles to deep dive into, I think. Um, and yeah, it's been fascinating having this guy over here and
Oh yeah.
putting so much time into a console I never thought I would put this kind of time into, you know? Like I would expect to do this more with like a Sega console than anything else, but here we are.
Um. Yeah. Honestly, like for me, I'd say most pleasant surprise. I mean, Icebreaker. That was a game I knew nothing about, and then it's now arguably one of my favorite kind of random games.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
that's a good one.
the same like could be said for like Need for Speed, just the fact that it's that good on 3DO. I already knew about Gex. Like Gex was one I had known was really good. I think the fact that I kind of legitimately like Plumbers Don't Wear Ties as a game. That was kind of a surprise. And as for the console itself, I mean, I went from being a fan of it just because I found it fascinating to I generally love this system now. Like it is probably it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite console. Well, I mean, it kind of is. I'm not gonna lie. The 3DO might be my favorite console of all time. It's just
That's
like
a bold claim.
it, like I love like the PlayStation. I love the Dreamcast. They're probably the consoles I enjoy more. But I have such a soft spot for the 3DO now. Like I just there's just it's like this little system that legit nobody gave a crap about, and now we're kind of just uncovering all these games and things about it that I don't think a lot of people knew, and that's kind of why I love it so much.
It's become a like weirdly sentimental console
It
because
really has.
I think we're just so connected to it now that it's just kind of part of who we are now.
I
So
mean,
it's one of those things where it's like you blink and it's like when you it's like you meet certain people in your life that like next thing you know it's like, oh, I've known this person forever and we're really close. Like what the hell happened? Like you don't think about it. Like this console's almost kind of become that. And like this roughly year we've been doing this.
So the next question is from 8-Bit Alchemy, and he asked, "What 3DO games have the most banging soundtracks?"
That's a good question.
I mean,
Um I really like Return Fire soundtrack because it has all of those really all-time classical music stuff. Icebreaker had a good soundtrack. I liked that Earth theme in Tripped. I still think about that theme quite a bit. I'm trying to think what other games had really good soundtracks.
I mean, one to bring up, if you're a big fan of the '90s, Road Rash is full of some of the Sledge Driver, man. Sledge Driver.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my version didn't, or at least the way I was playing it, I didn't have that, so I couldn't. So I couldn't say those, unfortunately. Trying to think what else.
I mean, Way of the Warrior has a banging soundtrack just
It
because
does.
it's a
It
White
does.
Zombie album.
I mean that, and that was when White Zombie was still really good. So,
Mm.
yeah, the yeah, I guess I would say those.
Gex is a really good soundtrack.
Oh yeah, but the whole product of Gex is really good though.
I'm trying to think. Other than that, they're all pretty. Oh, Street Fighter 2, the soundtrack, the 3DO version,
of
is
course.
so good.
I mean, heck, even the 3DO Doom soundtrack. I know it's tainted, but those versions are surprisingly really solid.
They are, and I hate the fact that like
they're good.
By that. Well, no, I've always thought they were good. I just hate the fact that the guy who made them turned out to be what he turned out to be.
I get that.
I get art from artist. I mean,
yeah, but that's a subjective thing, and everyone's wishy-washy on that anyway. So
yeah,
it's okay.
I mean, I read Rurouni Kenshin, so I figure I should give it a pass, but at the same time, I don't know.
I don't know either, man.
But yeah, there's a ton of great soundtracks on 3DO.
Oh, absolutely.
And our final Twitter question from the Dreamcast Junkyard. I see this guy, I like our posts all the time, and I love that Twitter name.
Does he do a Dreamcast podcast?
Good question.
Because if he does, can I come on? I'd love to talk some Dreamcast.
So according to his Twitter, he is the world's #1 Sega Dreamcast fan site and podcast. I'm gonna have to go look into that.
Bro, if he's listening and you haven't done the NFL 2K games yet, I'm your guy. I am your man.
So, I mean, obviously the tier list kind of answers his question, but his question is there a worse 3DO game than Plumbers Don't Wear Ties? Which is fun because we both kind of unironically like Plumbers Don't Wear Ties.
Yeah. I get why. I mean, if people threw it at like the very bottom of the ship pile, I totally get it. I'm not going to argue with it. I think it's just that maybe it's just we enjoy like the meme bullshit and we can kind of appreciate things for being wacky, and that you can tell the game is trying to be wacky. It's not pretentious. It knows exactly what it's trying to be and is just going for it. And I can appreciate that, because like a game like D is pretentious, and that kind of hurts it, unfortunately. But Plumbers isn't pretentious at all.
Plumbers is literally
even Way of the Warrior is a little pretentious.
Yeah. My thing with Plumbers is like it is a game where you can tell they 100% had a blast making it, and it's stupid. It's objectively awful, but I love it for that.
Yeah, it's like The Room. Like The Room is a terrible fucking movie, though I don't think the set, like them filming that film, was good. There's that book about it, but that movie is so entertaining to watch. That's like, how could you not love it? You know, or for a, I don't know, maybe like a pro wrestling reference. I don't know if you know this. The infamous Hulk Hogan Shawn Michaels match from SummerSlam 2005. Like that match is very infamous. And it's like if I'm memeing, like that's a 5-star match. I fucking love that match. I'll watch it over and over again. I won't get into the details if you don't know. Ask me about it. So it's just one of those where I think it does have that sort of meme quality to it, but I did enjoy my time with it for it being just kind of crazy and silly. And sometimes you just want to laugh,
Yeah.
and I think it works as a comedy, but not in the way it wants to work as a comedy.
Well, they were trying to tell a serious comedy love story, and it, the comedy's there. It's just not in the sense that they thought they were
It
going to
it
go.
falls flat on its face in the most beautiful way possible.
Yeah, like I love many an aspect of that game. I mean, go check out our episode on it if you really want to hear more in depth.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah. We go in depth about that and the remaster and the whole thing. We covered it pretty well.
but to answer his question though, yes, there are worse games than Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. I mean,
Absolutely.
Doom is bad because it's kind of insulting, but at the same time, you can't blame the person who made it. It's more just the entire shitstorm that basically everything that Art Data thought they could do is why that game is awful.
Yeah.
Um, D obviously not great.
Yeah.
Um,
But it feels like it's almost in a similar category as Plumbers Don't Wear Ties because I think they're both trying to do something different with the video game medium,
yeah.
but they went in very different avenues with it.
See, D is trying to be serious. Like that's the thing.
Yeah, and that hurts it. That genuinely hurts it.
Hmm.
But that's kind of the issue with horror games is that a lot of times they are kind of up their own ass, and if they're not like really well done, it just it makes it hurts the experience of it.
Yeah, and I mean, and then like Way of the Warrior, like, while I don't hate it as much as like you do, it is very clearly a Mortal Kombat clone that's trying to be in your face that it's better than Mortal Kombat and failing in every way possible.
A lot of Mortal Kombat clones were trying to say that they were better when they really
Yeah,
weren't. Like some people may complain about the tech in the Mortal Kombat fighting games, like the originals, and you may make a good case for that. But like try playing Way of the Warrior or Kasumi Ninja or the million other games from that era that
like
are trying to be Mortal Kombat like 2. And
objectively,
they don't have Ed Boon's programming to make it work. Like people
objective.
often forget about that, but Ed Boon was a master
Oh
programmer.
yeah, objectively speaking, I think the best Mortal Kombat clone is Street Fighter the movie, the game, the Saturn version.
Yeah, I love that fucking game. It's amazing, and it's so
But
weird how that went full circle.
oh yeah, it really is. Um, but yeah, thanks for your questions on Twitter, guys. Those are the only three we managed to get.
It was kind of short notice, so.
It was. I do appreciate everyone who liked the post too and tried to get it out
Mhm.
there.
Oh, we got some more questions
Oh, are
as
we?
we've been recording in the 3DO chat. Do you want me to do the 3DO chat ones?
Yeah, let's start with the ones in 3DO before we get over to the
The super
to the
pod ones, those
yeah.
kind of went off the rails, but those are the ones I look forward to the most. All right, so in the 3DO chat on the GNC Podcast Studios Discord, which you should totally join, by the way, we got a couple questions here. First is from Jala. Hi, Jala.
Hey, Joel.
What were your expectations going into starting this podcast, and were they realized? Well, I think you probably have a better answer for that than me.
So, what were my expectations going into the podcast, starting the podcast, and were they realized? This is a bit of a yes and no kind of question. When I started the show, I had the idea kind of that it would go in the direction that it did end up going. The problem is though, my original idea I couldn't do on my own, and it kind of fell on its face. Nothing against Josh and Casey who helped me out with those first 3 episodes. I just unfortunately my ambition was very high, and I realized really fast that trying to find a guest for every episode was going to be harder than it looked. As for what the show became when you had joined, my goals were pretty much exactly what we ended up doing, covering the system's history and um, the games behind it. I think the style that we ended up adopting, though, where we kind of cover the game and then give our thoughts, is much better than my original idea, which was more just kind of a basic overview kind of show.
Like you were expecting it to be more like historical, like more of
I
like a
was yeah,
documentary kind of style.
I was thinking more, yeah, in that sense, kind of more of a like a shorter term, bigger scope project initially, where it'd be kind of like more in depth, long form episodes. But then, kind of, I like as we did after because we kind of started doing that with like the Crash and Burn episode because we tried to tie it into Crystal at first.
Mm-hmm.
But then I feel like once we went to Road Rash and we kind of established our style with that episode, I think we kind of hit our stride from there. And the way it turned out, I much prefer than my original goal. So I guess to answer her question, it's basically a yes and a no. Like I think my ideas were realized, but I think they were improved significantly as we went
Well, thank you. My expectations were like I was you know me, I was just like kind of hanging out in all these discords and trying to guest on as many shows as possible, and I think I just needed kind of a home to just kind of just shout into a microphone for an hour a week just to kind of get some stuff out. And that's kind of what it became. It got a little bit more specialized, because
on.
I feel if this was more of like a general just like gaming show, like it probably wouldn't have that much direction because I would probably just be all over the place like I tend to be. So having that format or having something to kind of base it all on, I think helps my brain and my sort of like stream of consciousness. So it was realized it was a place for me to just kind of shoot the shit basically, and kind of I guess maybe elevate my status in the amongst us a little bit more. But it seemed to work, and it's
I
been great.
still,
It's been
I,
awesome.
s- I still remember when we first were discussing ideas, and the original idea was I was going to cover them on console, and you were going to emulate. And
Yeah,
then, like within a week, you were like, "Hey, I bought a 3DO," and I was like,
just
"All right,
yeah,
I guess we're doing
that
this."
that's how I am. Like even now when I'm emulating stuff on like my Ambernick and I'll like kind of get into like a little console or whatever, I'll always just like my instinct is to check eBay and be like, oh, what are these going for these days? Because I just have that old school collector mentality still of like, oh, but I want the console and I want to have it because there is something cool about just having it in front of you.
I think in the
That
end,
is really neat.
I feel like in the long run that ended up being for the better because it really did give us a more legitimate like perspective on 3DO because both of us can
Yeah.
actually talk about it as we're playing. Like your criticisms of Gex would have never been probably the same if you were playing on emulator.
Yeah, because I have played that game on emulator and it does run better.
Hmm,
So I mean, heck, probably PO'd would run better.
possibly, yeah.
So yeah. So if anything, it keeps the podcast a little bit more true to the experience, even though there are some games we have emulated. But it is what it is. So thank you, Jala. Next is from Slade.
I
Is there
Slade.
an Hi, Slade? Is there an episode you would like to redo? He has two questions. This is the first one. An episode we'd like to redo.
Well, I
Hmm.
think we kind of said like PO'd is definitely on that list.
Yeah, maybe not specifically that episode, but maybe just more like the game itself. And that kind of ties
Yeah,
into his next question. It says, "What's the 3DO game that needs a remake?" Technically PO'd, and it did get it.
it did. I'd say
So
Killing Time, which also is getting a remake.
yeah, and we didn't play the 3DO version of that yet for this, so we'll probably end up doing that definitive edition, or maybe we'll play both and compare and contrast. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out for Killing Time. Trying to think any other game that could use a remake on there. Um,
I mean,
the Horde, maybe, because as much as I have a soft spot for the Horde, I would like to see that game get given a second try. Maybe they could go in and kind of fix some of the stuff and streamline it because there's
I,
definitely some game design choices that could be done better, I think.
I'd like to say like maybe like Wing Commander 3 could use a remake, like with modern.
From a gameplay perspective, yeah, because I think the story and the presentation is already really good.
Hmm,
Maybe just make it more of like a Star Wars X-wing game or like a Rogue Squadron or something.
yeah. I'd say like to answer his first question, episode to redo. I don't think redo's the right word. I think revisit's a better word because I don't think we've had an episode that I was unhappy with. I'm pretty every episode that we've done, I've been pretty happy with the outcome of.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think there are some episodes that I probably didn't put my 100% in, or at least that's how it felt when I was doing it. But I tend to be very critical of these. Like right after I do them, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this like shit. And then
Oh,
maybe I'll listen to it later and I'll be like, oh, actually, it wasn't too bad.
I actually did just remember if we were going to redo any game, maybe Soccer Kid, not because I thought
To
our
give it
con,
more time.
but also I just remembered this. That was the episode that we had the horrendous audio issues on the entire episode.
That is true. That is true. So maybe that's one maybe we should like sit down and properly play more of that game and maybe do a sort of a revisit of that one.
Yeah, give it a second shot. Mostly just because like
Yeah.
I feel like that episode kind of ended up because that was the last one we did on. It was one of the last ones we did on Zencast. I think it was the last one we did on Zencaster because I think we did
Yeah.
D on. We recorded D over Discord because I was in between platforms at the time.
That sounds right to me. Yeah. So yeah, that would probably be the one then. Soccer Kid would be the redo, and then the remake. Yeah, probably like PO'd or Killing Time or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. From Casey. Hey Casey.
What's up, Casey?
Uh, do you think that there was a way other than dropping the price in general that Trip Hopkins could have saved the 3DO? He worded that kind of weird, so I think he's saying, is there a way the 3DO could have been saved other than dropping the price? That's an interesting question. I don't know if you've ever really dived into that, like a deep dive. We've mentioned it before because I think it coming in at a smaller price point would have helped. I think having more games at launch, having a steadier stream of titles, particularly first party, but also some more solid third party titles, I think would help.
This one is a very much a hindsight thing, and we don't really know if it would have made a difference. But I also feel like, of course, this goes entirely against Trip Hawkins' entire point of what 3DO is supposed to be. But I feel like if it was, say, he just chose Panasonic, Panasonic was the sole maker of the console, maybe, and it was cheaper. Maybe that would have helped. Because I feel like there was confusion, like between like the Gold Star version and the Panasonic and the Sanyo and the Creative Labs and all that stuff.
Yeah, because I think even Trip didn't really know what he wanted or what he meant by like an open ended sort of thing, you know? Like I think he
He
liked the idea of it, but I think once you got into the nitty gritty of it, I wouldn't be surprised if after a while he went, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
he really wanted to make like the video game version of VHS, essentially.
Yeah, and I think he realized that that just unfortunately doesn't work. It's
I
just
mean,
it's a completely different medium.
I mean, even in like the video medium, like VHS only was going to last so long before DVD would eventually take
Yeah.
over.
And the closest thing we almost had to that in video games was say Atari.
Mm,
And look how that turned out. Because the 2600 didn't like the regulatory process for the 2600 was not very strict. Because you know, like the ColecoVision had an adapter to play 2600 games on it.
mm.
And
Yeah, it did.
people were just throwing games on it left and right without thinking about it. Like that, the video game scene in the early 80s was so bad, is why it crashed, because things were just, there wasn't anything keeping like regulations essentially. And then when Nintendo came in and started being very strict on the regulations, some people had issues with it, and I understand why, but it worked.
Mm.
It helped revitalize the industry because then there was more control, and I think 3DO kind of needed more of that. Though
Oh
things
yeah.
weren't crazy on it like some other consoles have gotten with trying to be more open-ended, but it's probably just because it wasn't super popular or had a super long lifetime to get just some like weird garbage on it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
3DO was an open system for the most part, but it did have at least a rating system. Like the games had to be rated whether it was the 3DO system or the ESRB later on. So there
Yeah,
at least was some sort of control.
yeah, I think they were just trying to be looser than Nintendo, which was easy to do, and even looser than Sega, because Sega was loose, but not as. Um, so yeah, and also Casey said favorite 3DO games from each of the hosts. Mine is Incredible Machine.
And I believe I had said earlier, it's funny how many of these questions have been answered by the tier list, but I believe I had said Road Rash is my favorite.
So there you go. All right, and then from Schnickerman, hope I'm saying that right. What games would you put on a 3DO classic? That's an interesting question. I feel like that could be its own episode,
Honestly, it could.
like a
I mean,
3DO classic draft or something.
we might have to revisit this one, Schnickerman.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, it's a safe bet that
Everything in the S tier.
most of the S and A tier games, as far as licensing goes, that we could get away with, could fit in there. Like the S and A tier, and then probably a good chunk of the B tier, maybe one or two games from the C tier. But that might be something. Maybe when we play more of the library, maybe eventually play all the games in the library, we could do a proper draft of it. So good idea, Schnickerman. We'll put a pin in that, and we'll probably get to that in the future.
Sorry for the kind of non-answer, but I think you just gave us an episode idea.
Yeah, that's too good of an idea. So thank you.
We do appreciate your guys' questions, Jala, Slade, Casey, and Schnickerman. Thanks for participating on the very short notice.
Love you all. Mwah. You get a kiss from me.
And always remember, the door's always open. We will have Casey back on, and anyone else who wants to come on, door's always open there.
Exactly.
But okay, so next, before we get to the Superpod questions, which there was a lot, I want to do Alex's questions because they are wonderful. So my lovely sister and co-host over on GNC, Alex, had 4 questions for us.
Oh God.
They are all based off the same question.
Are they water bottle questions?
No, her other favorite thing.
The N64, hating on it?
No.
Okay.
So, question number 1. When will you talk about the Atari Jaguar? We've actually done that.
We've talked about it a bunch. Yeah.
She doesn't listen to this show, in case you noticed.
Yeah, I figured.
Maybe she'll listen.
She's too busy addicted to the dance.
And Stardew Valley and whatever other things. I love you, Alex.
She's living her life, man.
She is. Question number 2. Why have you not talked about the Atari Jaguar yet? We have, Alex, many times.
Oh yeah. I mean, hell, we've had an idea to do a Jaguar show.
Yeah, like in which
would be awesome. But
I do want to do like a sideshow at some point, and we will have Alex on because she does actually legitimately like that system.
Yeah.
Her third question.
We could talk about Atari carts for like an hour.
I know, right? Her third question: when will you fund the relaunch of Atari Jaguar? It's not happening, Alex. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm surprised. Well, does she know about the Atari 50 collection?
Probably not. Knowing
well,
her.
You should let her know because I think it's on Switch and it does have Jaguar games on it. So she could play some Jaguar games on her Switch. It has Atari carts. It has Trevor McFur. It has, I think it has Iron Soldier on it.
I think Tempest is on there.
Tempest, Cybermorph. So a lot of the heavy hitters. Not every game that I would like on there, but a good sample. Good sample of Jags on there.
And then her fourth question was just all caps: Atari Jaguar, Atari Jaguar, Atari Jaguar.
Has she ever actually like played an Atari Jaguar in person?
We did a whole episode on it way back in like the first season of GNC. Like me and her sat kind of similar to the 3DO episode that was kind of the genesis of this podcast in a weird way.
So does she legitimately like the Jaguar, or is this just all a meme?
No, she like legit had a really fun time playing it. Like she loved like Attack of the Mutant Penguins.
That's a great game. That's not on the Atari 50 collection, and that bummed me out so much because that's the game that needed to be on there. That game needs to be preserved.
She was massively impressed with Rayman, just like because she knew about Rayman.
That.
She did not know it was made for the Jaguar.
Yeah. Rayman's its own beast entirely.
No, but yeah, she does legitimately enjoy it. Like,
Yeah,
especially
there's a lot of things to
especially.
like about the Jag.
Oh no, it's see. I always say I love shitty obscure consoles like the 3DO and the Jaguar
Yeah.
because they're more interesting in hindsight.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But
Even ones like the TurboGrafx 16, which isn't a shitty
mm,
console, but a lesser known console.
I mean, I wouldn't even call the 3DO or the Jaguar shitty. They're just obscure and weird.
Jaguar is shitty in its own way. 3DO, I think people just kind of throw in the shitty pile, but I don't think it's a bad console.
Most people who talk badly about the 3DO have never seen one in their lives. So
Yeah, or unless you're Jeff Gertzman, he knows. He knows what he's talking about.
yeah. But thank you, Alex. We appreciate the
Yeah,
questions. I
thanking her
read
on this thanking her on this show is like talking to a wall.
maybe she'll listen to this one. I doubt it, but
She skips to this part and that's it, and
yeah.
then bumps the fuck out.
She literally messaged me and went, I have questions for 3DO. And I said, okay, cool. And then she sent me that and said, you're welcome. You appreciate my questions. And I had gotten in the shower before I could respond. Then she angrily messaged, answer me.
You're like, sister, I had to think about these in the shower, okay? These
I
were very
was
important.
She sent them to me as I was getting in, and then as I came out, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
I kind of envy the relationship you have with your sister. Mine is not this at all.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We get along. We get along.
Okay.
I'll just say that.
All right. So let's get to the chaos that was the super pod.
We knew going in that this part was going to be the main event.
So do you want to like alternate on questions?
Sure. I'll start from Toscat 7594. Did I say that right? I know it's Matt from Geek Addicts, but from Geek Addicts. Hi, Matt. We still really haven't met properly, but we will eventually. What do you guys plan to do once you clear through all the 3DO games out there? Will you make another console-based podcast together, or will Bill finally give himself some free time? I mean, we did mention like potentially doing like a weird spiritual successor to the Jaguar for this, which wouldn't be as long because there's not as many games to talk about.
Yeah. The thing about 3DO like that, I appreciate this question because I actually did want to bring this up because it's kind of a misconception with the show is we're not just talking about the games on the console. We're talking about 3DO's entire history because as we talked about it with the Army Men games, they made a lot of games post like console,
Yeah.
and there's a lot to say there. Like we have plans already for a few collab ideas covering some of those because we're not really doing it chronologically. We're going to be jumping around, but we've also said like we're going to cover some other tangentially related games over the course of the show.
Yeah, and quite a while ago, I made a list of like the 3DO games we would play for the show. I made a bit of a list of them, and just looking at them, we still have like 60 to go.
Yeah, the 3DO.
And these are like even just like specific series or certain like 2-in-1 episodes we would do because certain games it's like and these should just be put together kind of thing. Like say when we talk about all those adult games, it's just going to be one episode.
Yeah,
We're not going to do one episode on Blonde Justice and then one on Supermodels Go Wild. Like we're not insane here.
yeah.
But like certain games would get put together, then certain games would kind of be talked about by themselves. So, we still have quite a bit of room to go just on the console itself before we would say, talk about the Army Men stuff or any of their other stuff. But I think as we get further in and we start kind of running out of console games on there is when we'll probably do more of the stuff they published.
Plus, we're also going to do more episodes. There's definitely going to be more episodes covering specific companies involved. Like, I'm sure we're going to cover Naughty Dog at some point because they are tangentially involved. Maybe we'll do a Capcom episode. Just like all sorts of different like companies because we have a ton of potential ideas going forward.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're going to do.
But go ahead.
I was going to say we're going to do an episode on the M2 eventually, talking about that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Schnickerman just gave us an entire idea for an episode.
So yeah, so 3DO ain't dying, guys.
And to answer the second part of his question, will it give me more time? No, because I'll just fill that time with something else.
Yeah, are you a work? I just get the sense you're a podcastaholic or just like a workaholic.
I like to be creative.
You just like to do
That's
stuff.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
always try. I like creating things.
yeah. Like I could just veg out for a month and not do a damn thing other than play this thing. It would be fine.
Mm.
But I do get stir crazy. It just takes longer for me to get stir crazy and
Yeah,
wanting to do something. So
yeah. I appreciate the question, Matt, and I hope you enjoy your vacation. He's
come on
going.
the show.
He'll be on. He's gonna visit me at some point, and we're gonna play the Yu Yu Hakusho game. So he said he's down
Okay,
for that one.
sounds good. I will. I'll probably have to emulate that one, but I'll play it.
Okay. All right. And next question from a longtime listener and good friend of the show, Dre, from Fine Time. So his question is, I know you do this to a degree already, but since a lot of 3DO games made it to PS1 and Saturn, I'd love to hear a show or two or three where you talk about those versions specifically and their differences and upgrades. And then he prefaced, I guess that's more of a fan letter than a question.
It's
um,
not a it's not a bad idea. I
no,
mean,
it's not. We've
again, that's another idea. But I mean, it's something
so
maybe in the future we could do like more for specific games kind of thing.
yeah, we've kind of done it a little bit. Like I know for like D, I played the Saturn version, which there was no differences. But
Mhm.
or Need for Speed, I did remember pointing out that the menus in the PlayStation version are completely different. They're honestly better than the 3DO version's weird menus.
Yeah.
Um, I the one game I do know that I did specify specific differences was Wing Commander 3 because I had played on PlayStation.
Yeah, and there are specific differences with that version.
But he
So,
brings a good point. Like that, honestly, we probably should.
we could do it more, I
Mm,
think.
yeah, I know for a lot of cases there's not a lot to talk about, but it would be good to at least do some digging. I also kind of tangentially related, like certain games on the system, like we're eventually going to talk about like Off-World Interceptor at some point.
Yeah.
That that has a Saturn only sequel that we'll probably also cover at some point, just because it's
I mean, we could maybe do them as a twofer.
yeah. Honestly, I haven't played either, so I'm not sure how in depth they are.
Yeah, neither have I, so we'll get to them eventually.
But thank you, Dre, for the question. Honestly, it's even if it was more of a fan letter, it was still it gives us more things to think about for the future, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Come on the show, Dre. I think you'd be a fit on here.
We're gonna do that Galgun episode at some point.
All right. From Will, my best frenemy, I think, from Will. This is for both of you. If you're stuck on a desert island, and only have the 3DO for company, how long before you crack? Now, I think it depends on, does this island have electricity? Can I actually like
Yeah,
play this thing on a TV? And what games do I have? Do I have the entire library? Just a handful of games? Because if I was able to play the 3DO and its entire library of games, it would take a while before I'd crack. It would take a good long while.
yeah. Like, I mean, there's certain games there. Like, I could probably live off of like Road Rash, Need for Speed, Madden, Icebreaker, Gex. Like, I could live with those for a while. Um, it would take a while. 3DO, honestly, like even like with like if I was on a desert island, I always say like even if I was on a desert island with like my Vita in Persona 4, I'd still probably go mental after a while just because you can only play so much of one thing before you get absolutely sick of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Like that'd be the same with me in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like after like the sixth time in a row beating that game, I'd be like, I'm done.
yeah. Um, yeah, so I guess the preface, because he doesn't specify, but if we have access to the full library, probably a while. If we don't, and it's only like a select few games, it really depends on what games.
Yeah. And if it got really bad, I could just put one of those adult games in.
Plovers don't wear ties. Just
No, not that. Not that one. The other ones.
stare at John's ass.
Excited. Yeah. And then he has a secondary
This was the one I was looking forward to
question.
answering.
He knows my answer, but I'm gonna put. He says, "Do you put the 3DO over the Saturn in terms of quality games?" He says he thinks he knows my answer, but he's curious anyway. I'll answer it. I fucking love the Sega Saturn. I think it's known. I'm a Sega guy. I'm a Sega boy, and I had a Saturn for a while. Even collected games for it back when that was somewhat reasonably cheap to do. I sold all that stuff a long time ago. I do regret it because I really wish had I known Saturn emulation would be this rough even today. I would have kept all that stuff because I really enjoyed playing the Saturn. I love that Model 2 controller. I love the 3D pad. Playing Knights on a proper Sega Saturn with a 3D control pad is a very specific experience that I regret not being able to do these days. I even had Power Slave on there, and that was great. I had some of the sports games on there that I enjoyed. I played the original Tomb Raider on there. I think the Sega Saturn is a fucking awesome console. It's just a shame that it
Sega
just
was a fucking dumpster fire at the time.
yeah, that Sega they couldn't handle success clearly with the Genesis, and they just didn't really know what to do. So it's one of those consoles that, in hindsight, is kind of amazing, but having it at the time probably would have been rough. But yeah, I would much prefer the Saturn over the 3DO. But that's just because I'm a Sega boy. I'm a Sega boy at heart. I can't help it, man.
So, to answer the question, I love the 3DO. I have a weird obsession with it. As I've said before, the Saturn is a better system. The Saturn, low key, has one of the best video game libraries of all consoles. It's a shame the majority of it is exclusive to Japan, but there is an amazing amount of really awesome games on Saturn, even in America, that is only now getting discovered by many people. And it's unfortunate that the Saturn is one of the worst consoles to collect for, just in terms of quantity and availability and expense, because the Saturn is legitimately amazing, and it's a shame that it did not get the recognition at the time. I mean, I get why it didn't. The PlayStation was the best console of that era, just in terms of overall games and basically everything.
Yeah.
But if the Saturn was more competently managed and had more value right off the bat, I feel like it could have put up a better fight.
I think if they treated the Saturn in America the way they treated the Saturn in Japan, I think it would have done a lot better. Like, not restricting the games, maybe trying to do an American version of Segata Sanshiro, which I love that mascot. That marketing campaign is incredible. And finding a way to Americanize that probably would have been a good idea. And just having more of those Japanese titles come over. Like, honestly, if that version of Symphony of the Night came over here for the Saturn, that probably would have helped it a little bit. I mean, yeah, it was on PlayStation, but I think Saturn people would have had something to go on. But yeah, that library, even like RPGs alone, like that console rivals PlayStation, like on the RPG library, because there's a lot of bangers on there.
It doesn't have quite the flashy RPGs. Like,
no, there's no Final Fantasy, there's no Dragon Quest, there's no like the big names. But if you're like an RPG head and want to play some of the kind of lesser known titles, like hell, like Dragon Force, that game is awesome.
Albert Odyssey, it's not perfect, but it's a very solid turn-based RPG.
Yeah, and then the infamous Panzer Dragoon Saga.
One of the most visually stimulating RPGs you'll ever play. Will I say it's the greatest RPG like some people do? No, not really. But it's an experience. That is the best way to describe it.
It's a game that really needs to leave the Saturn and become available, so I think people can finally appreciate it for what it is. You know, because I think a lot of people want Panzer Dragoon Saga to have the same legacy as like an Ocarina of Time, because in a way it almost feels like that game is trying to be that console's Ocarina of Time. and I don't know if that's a fair comparison to make.
My
Um,
my only fear with Panzer Dragoon Saga is if it ever did get like a release on other systems, a lot of people I feel like wouldn't get the hype behind it.
I think if like say Forever Entertainment wanted to remake that game, I think that's one they could get away with doing because I did play their remake of the first Panzer Dragoon and it's rough around the edges, but it works. And I believe they're still doing the remake of Zwei. I don't know what's going on with that, but I think with Saga, it's a turn-based game, so I think they could get away with some stuff. But if they were to do a remake of Panzer Dragoon Saga, I think that would be a big deal. And I think Sega would be smart to treat it like a big deal. But will that ever happen? Never say never. I mean, they're
Yeah.
bringing back Crazy Taxi and Jet Set. I mean, they're bringing back a lot of classic IPs now, or at least
Oh
they've
yeah.
been making that a big deal. So they might do something with Panzer Dragoon in general. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Thanks
Unfortunately,
for
the
the question.
3DO does not have that kind of game.
No. The best RPG on 3DO is Lucian's Quest, and that's like a from what I've heard, it's if you put it on like another system, it would be like a B tier RPG, probably at most.
Yeah, we'll talk about it one of these days.
Yeah. No, but thanks for the question, Will.
Thank you, Willie.
Moving on. The boss man.
our CEO.
Yeah.
He hates that I say that.
So from Aaron, if you both had to pick a favorite game on 3DO, what would it be? One game per homie. So we
We've done
already
that.
answered. Yep, we answered this for Casey earlier. It's for me, it's Road Rash, and for Thrak, it's The Incredible Machine.
Here you go.
Now, this one I was looking forward to answering. Also, if 3DO Experience ever got sponsored by G Fuel, what would be the flavor?
I don't drink G Fuel, so
I don't either, but
I don't even know. Like, I know G Fuel's a thing, but like, I don't really drink energy drinks. They make me feel weird.
I'd on
So I don't know.
if I was gonna say if we're gonna name a drink, I'd call it Praise the Dude Meyer.
call it the Dude Meyer, and then maybe it's like a fruit punch thing because there's all different kinds of colors.
Or it's like Airhead, it's mystery flavor.
There we go. Yeah, Dude Meyer, and it's a mystery flavor.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, boss man. All right, from Cthusiast Jeff, Mr. Weird Opinion. What is your opinion of the Heroes of Might and Magic series? I know they only published, but I have such nostalgia for 2 and 3. Were these games on 3DO?
No, because so they did not. So what happened is 3DO went third party, and then they purchased New World Computing, who was the creator of Might and Magic.
Okay. So
I
they
believe
published these games.
they published the mainline ones. They did develop quite a few. Like they developed Crusaders of Might and Magic on PlayStation, and I believe they also made like Warriors of Might and Magic and Shifters.
Interesting. Interesting. Because
Now I have
looking at it, yeah, they published 2 and 3. They published 4 as well, but then I think after that they went to Ubisoft. I think Ubisoft
Ubisoft.
owns them now.
Yeah, Ubisoft bought the rights to Might and Magic and basically just kept the Heroes series going, which I believe was more of a I think it was more of an action game over the tactical games that the originals were, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
I think I haven't. I'm not gonna lie. Might and Magic's not a series I am super in depth with. The most I know about is I played like the one on PlayStation, Crusaders of Might and Magic, and I played a bit of Warriors of Might and Magic on PS2.
I can safely say I have never played these games, so I
They
don't know dick.
so okay. So the mainline games were like Western style role playing games, so like very like Ultima ish games.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I believe the heroes of Might and Magic games were okay. So they were turn based strategy. I had it mixed up. Um, I can honestly see myself liking the heroes games probably because I'm a big. I do like my turn based strategy games every now and then. Um, I'm honestly gonna have to check those out because I think one of the early ones came out on PlayStation 2, so I might be able to play that version.
Well, maybe these should be some games we cover in the future.
I'm sure we'll get to them at some point because we have to cover all the 3DO stuff.
And
Um,
Enthusiast Jeff, you're going to come on and tell us
yeah,
all about it because you're the expert here, I think.
I'm down. But yeah, that's where I go on Might and Magic. I remember the 3DO made ones were kind of mediocre. Uh,
Yeah.
Shifters was a kind of interesting game, even though it was also kind of mediocre. Most 3DO games post 3DO were kind of mediocre. That's just
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Um, so Matt once again commented. He said, "Tastes like vengeance." I think that was in response to
Yeah.
Aaron's G-Field question.
Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Yes. Um, okay, and then this was the question for you. For
Mm-hmm.
Threk, if you could serve under any Star Trek captain, who would it be?
Now, I've been poring over this question ever since I saw it. So basically, for the last 2 hours we've been doing this, I've been thinking this is really tough because all the captains have their own thing. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
what's really cool about Star Trek is that each cast, each crew is different. Like none of them are direct rips from each other. So it's like, where do you think you would fit in? You know, like the two big ones are Kirk and Picard, right? Like I feel as a leader, I would despise Kirk because
Yeah,
he just gets like he gets the job done, but he can just be really just too gung ho and just doing everything himself, which kind of like upsets me. Where it's like you can delegate the work a little bit. It's okay. That's what I'm here for.
hmm.
Um, like I think Picard could work, but I do think Picard gets a little too emotional at times and can lead to some rough stuff that happens. If you know, you know. Um, I feel like I would be best under Cisco. I don't know why, but I feel like Benjamin Sisko would probably be the captain. I feel I could get along with the most and would
He's good.
feel most confident as a leader and like fitting in with the rest of the crew. You know, like I do love Janeway. I
Even
do.
though she's kind of crazy.
The problem is she's way too all over the place. I think that the writing of Voyager, probably me and Matt will get into this eventually. The writing of Voyager is way too all over the place. Like Voyager could have been the best series of all of them, but it was just way too inconsistent,
Hmm.
and there was just too much crushing ambition.
It's a
Like there were
very
so many.
it's a very rear loaded show. Like the best stuff happens
Yeah,
near the end.
Yeah, because it could have been so much better. There was so much potential for that show because I love the idea of it, but I think yeah, they never really kind of got their groove until say maybe near the very end. Voyager is just a lot of missed potential. It was a lot of I think Rick Berman kind of just getting in the way too much
Hmm.
about like what Trek should be. Where I think
Which
Voyager was trying to change what Trek could be and could have just been something really, really special. And like, I love Janeway. I do think she's great, but there's just, again, she's just way like there are like episodes where she's like trying to really be strict and and stick by the book. And then there are other episodes where she just will give shit to the Borg for like a bowl of spaghetti.
yeah,
Like she's too inconsistent. But I
to
think that
hell
just
to hell with the Prime Directive, basically.
yeah, because that's the whole idea of Voyager is like challenging the Prime Directive in a very extreme situation. But I think it just that vision never really kept with it, unfortunately.
I think
Um,
Voyager's strongest point is its
but
cast because it I think has one of the best cast in the series.
yeah, it does. It does. I like Deep Space Nine's cast and next
They're
gen
equally as strong.
next gen is to me the gold standard for Trek. But
Honestly, all of the Berman era casts are really good.
yeah, they are. And as Scott Bakula from Enterprise. I have a soft spot for Enterprise, but I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't want to be there.
I mean,
But
Archer
Enterprise is
wasn't a bad captain. He
no,
was
he's
just
not. He's not a bad captain. I just think Enterprise, just that era. I don't think I'd want to be in that era.
yeah.
Like them doing the whole prequel thing, which was like an excuse to have a lower budget. And now I'm just getting into the shows. But yeah, I don't hate Archer. I don't hate Scott Bakula as one, but I don't know. I don't know.
So
And then all the others like
Kind of a
Like Pike, no. Any of the Discovery captains, no. Lower Decks, no.
what, you don't
Like,
want to be under Riker?
no.
He was
Right.
crazy in fucking Lower Decks.
I haven't really watched Lower Decks. Like Riker's not a captain. You
Well,
know what
he
I
is.
mean?
He is in Lower Decks.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like I don't like from what I know of him in Next Gen, he's not captain material yet. You know,
Yeah.
but
In
that
a, all I'll
but
say is
but yeah, I love Riker, but oh boy,
in Lower Decks they made him like comic relief, and he'd show up, and he's just like he's a nut job whenever he shows up.
is he
Kind
like
of funny.
flirting with everyone because he's Riker?
No, he just shows up and he fucking like saves the day in his ship and just fucking is wacky and over the top because it's
Oh
that
boy,
show's just wacky and over the top
yeah.
in general.
But I will say one more thing with Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, fantastic.
Oh yeah,
She
the
was
cat,
incredible. She
all
was
of
great.
them were good. All of them were great.
Yeah, and funnily enough, the last episode of Star Trek Voyager may have been ripped off by the MCU because what is the name of the final episode of Star Trek Voyager?
I can't
It's the
remember.
name of a Marvel movie,
Oh, Endgame.
Endgame, and the plots are kind of the exact same.
Yeah, kind
Now,
of.
now I'm not trying to say that they ripped it off. I'm not saying they
I mean,
did. It's just if you see them both back to back, you scratch your beard a little bit. You're like,
let's be fair though. They probably kind of had it coming because let's be real, Deep Space Nine is a ripoff of Babylon 5.
yeah. Babylon 5.
Both.
Oh,
I love Babylon.
we're not going there.
I love that show. But
That's a whole nother beast entirely.
I will
But
say
yeah, me and Matt will probably do something Trek related in the future because
I
that'd be
will
fun to
say
do.
just to end that note though, yes, Deep Space Nine is a ripoff of Babylon 5, but both shows became their own thing in the best way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like that's what I like about Deep Space Nine is that where it starts and where it ends, it's a completely different show.
Oh yeah.
And it's so fucking good. Love DS9.
Thank you, Matt. That
Yeah,
was
Matt,
ironic.
but me and Matt will do something Trek related in the future. I think we have to.
And the final question.
Can I ask? Can I do this one?
Yeah, go for it.
From Judge Bread. I wonder who that is. Hello. As you may know, many people died before the 3DO existed. Einstein, Leonard da Vinci, William Howard Taft. If you could use a time machine to go back in time and force a currently deceased person to play the 3DO, you yourself cannot play with them or for them. Who would you pick and what game would you make them play?
Oh Lord.
Now, my initial response to I couldn't breathe because I read that before we started doing this, and I regret it because I lost it. It was so funny. I don't know how Tommy pulled that out of his ass, but that is amazing. Maybe it's the William Howard Taft. Like
it's such a random one.
That's the president he picked of all the presidents. The one who didn't want to be president, but I'm not getting into that. Deceased person to play the 3DO. That's an interesting question.
I'm trying to think of
so basically it's like they're living in their current time and then it just like appears in front of them with a game and then they have to figure it out.
Well,
am I correct?
It sounds more like you appear in front of them with a 3DO, but you can't help them. You have to just observe. I don't know. This is interesting.
I'm gonna throw one out there. Sigmund Freud. Like imagine him on coke playing Gex.
He'd be so confused.
Well, Freud, a lot of his major studies, he was coked out of his mind. So just want to throw that out there. I mean, I do have a bachelor's degree in psychology, so I have read quite a bit of Freud. I have opinions on him, but we won't get into that. But Freud would be interesting, just so I could go, what is a geek? That's a Bill and Ted reference.
This is tough. I'm trying to like keep it tied to like gaming, in a sense, but I'm trying to think like who is like a forefather of gaming. That would be interesting.
Because all of them are still alive, I think.
A lot of them are.
Yeah, like Bushnell's not dead yet.
Bushnell's definitely still alive.
Yeah,
Is Ralph Baer still alive?
he might be.
No, Ralph died in 2014.
Mm,
But he was alive. He would have at least known about 3DO.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like that goes
Yeah,
against.
he died. Yeah, yeah. It took him a while.
I feel like that kind of goes against the whole idea of Tommy's question there.
I think he wants us to just say like random
It's the most
people, like Socrates or fucking I don't know, John Lennon.
Lennon with the friggin'
Do you think Lennon would have liked video games? Maybe.
I don't know. It's hard to tell with John Lennon sometimes.
I know George. I'm pretty sure George Harrison hated them because he wasn't huge on technology.
Yeah.
Once he became like full on like Hindu, because there is that like brainwashed like EPK where he's kind of complaining about modern stuff as like an old guy, you know.
Yeah.
But he's self aware about it. Like George knows he's not a dummy.
This one's just random, just because it's. This just kind of popped in my head.
The kid who shot Trump. Lee Harvey Oswald to give him a fucking 3DO.
I was thinking like the captain of the Titanic. Let's just see what happens there. John Edward Smith. Give him a 3DO.
Name?
Yeah.
Is that his? I thought it was John Titanic.
Might as well have been.
Jesus Christ. He performed a miracle.
Yeah,
he made plumbers don't wear ties.
See, then they'd have an excuse for why they hit the iceberg. He was too busy playing 3DO. He was playing Icebreaker.
That explains everything.
He forgot to ram. There we go, Tommy. That's my answer. Right I knew it would take me a minute.
I like that. I can live with that. May Orson Welles, like drunk out of his mind, playing Tripped.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah. Oh, this what is this fucking shit? Go away. You know, give me some more lights. Give me another bottle.
Unicron. Just.
Oh yeah. I thought you were gonna say the Unabomber.
No, I always remember one of his final roles was in the fucking Transformers movie.
Yeah. That was like I think the last thing he did before he died.
And he was very apathetic to it, apparently.
Yeah, he's like Transformer who fucking cares. It's cartoons and I don't know. I need a glass of wine.
But
I like Orson Welles.
Yeah.
Or maybe what's the other like fat celebrity? Marlon Brando. Give Brando a 3DO, yeah.
Oh man. But thanks everybody.
You wouldn't be a fan of Custer's Revenge, I don't think.
I don't think so. But
anyway, thank you guys.
thanks for those questions. Ironically, I thought the Star Trek one was where it would go off the rails, but no, Tommy just came in on his
No. You don't go off the rails talking about Trek. Maybe down a rabbit hole, but not off the rails.
Yeah, but Tommy with his AI came in and crashed the system.
We should have asked an AI about the 3DO.
I wonder actually what would come up these days.
I'd be curious. Maybe we should program it.
Yeah, I think this episode was over 2 hours long.
Yeah, this is easily the longest episode we've done.
I want to say, but just want to thank everyone again for participating. I want to thank everyone for listening. Big shout out to our guests we've had on, Josh from Still Loading, Casey, Aaron, of course. We're definitely going to try to have you guys all on again. And like I said earlier, the door is open to anybody who is interested. Just find a game, send it, reach out, and we'll try to get you on.
Exactly. Experience this with us. Join.
To answer Jala's question, that was my original intent for the show, was to introduce people who knew nothing about 3DO to the system, and we've kind of done that.
To an extent. To an extent. And there are some like other like 3DO content creators out there that we should probably reach out to them. Try to get that crossover thing on there because I think that would be cool to do.
Oh yeah. And I will say next week, TBT on if it happens. It depends on if I'm functioning or not. But
Yeah.
there will be an episode next week. It might not be on time. But did we say we wanted to do Patonk just to get it out of the way?
I thought we were doing Captain Quasar.
Captain Quasar, that's right.
Yeah.
You're right. Patonk was going to be our in case we couldn't do Tripped. That's what it was.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so
so we're gonna
I'd say we can do Captain Quasar, then maybe after that we'll do Patonk.
yeah. We'll go from something that I'm looking forward to nonsense.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Quasar.
All right. Well, anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on this extra special episode of the 3DO Experience. You can find the 3DO Experience on all the major podcasting platforms. And be sure to check us out over on the Superpod Network over at superpodnetwork.com. You can find a ton of awesome podcasts, videos, blogs, all of these great shows, including Superpod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, A Novel Console, Tommy's Video Game Ride Along, Find Time, The Elder Trolls, Friday Night Gamecast, Gaming Together, Remember 64, Bar Silence, and those GNC shows. You know the ones.
I think you got them all.
I think I did, and I got Tommy's show right this time.
I mean, he had the best questions, so
it was definitely up there. But yeah, anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all later.
bye-bye.